should really know when it starts.
Yeah.
Oh, so we're not starting then. Okay, well, Ben has a small PP.
Boobies.
Okay, so it's Zelda's 35th anniversary this year. Was that right, Gavin? It's 1986 it came out, right?
Yes,
Okay, that's
21st
fine.
of February.
Okay, so it's Zelda's 35th anniversary this year, and we've got 4 series lovers here, myself, PHATcast, G98, Espyo, and our good friend Deku, to discuss Zelda, how we got into it, what we love about the series, and of course the games. So I just want to sort of introduce these guys. So Tom, tell me what your favourite Zelda item is.
The double hook shot from Twilight Princess, because it's cool. Yeah.
You have to think about that, didn't you?
They're not hook shots,
Yeah.
though, are they?
Or claw grips, whatever you call them.
Claw grips!
That's close
Claw
enough.
Grip isn't a boss from Mario 2.
Gavin, what's your favourite Zelda enemy?
I don't know.
The first one that comes to mind.
We weren't ready for this. Deku Scrubs. There, done.
Oh, I think
What do you
that's
expect?
That
me to say
sounds
something?
romance.
Hell no.
Espio, what's your favourite Zelda location?
I knew you were gonna say location, actually.
I'm struggling.
It might actually be the fountain in Skyward Sword, like after the first temple.
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
the one in the garden.
Pretty.
Yeah, that's pretty.
That's the most positive news you hear about Skyward Sword in this podcast.
Maybe.
Not from
maybe
me.
not. We'll see. Okay, so now you know who everyone is. Let's head straight into it. So, what really got us into the Zelda series? I guess we'll start off with you, Tom. I mean, I'm assuming maybe Gavin and Espio because they're old, but I'm assuming we didn't start with the original game.
Oh.
Calling
No.
old.
Certainly did not. A family friend owned, that collector's edition on the GameCube where Majora's Mask was shit.
Oh yeah.
The family friend owned that, and I used to play it a lot. I used to play Majora's Mask in the Wind Waker demo that was in it.
Oh,
And that
right.
was the first exposure to Zelda, really.
Did you love it straight away?
Yeah, I love Majora's Mask. And then I played Twilight Princess next. And then finally, when we got online at the house, managed to play some of the older games like Ocarina.
Oh, was that on the Wii Virtual Console?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty. I think that's pretty standard, to be honest. You definitely got into it earlier than I did, though. Espio, how did you sort of get into the series?
Well, there was this period in Portugal where emulating Nintendo 64 games was all the rage. If you didn't do it, you just didn't actually exist in Portugal. So pretty much everyone did it, and the big numbers were really Ocarina, Majora's, and Mario 64. Obviously, me being a person that exists, I actually emulated Ocarina of Time as my first game. And I give it a try, and you know what? This is fun. So when I actually got my first console, my first real console that isn't a Mega Drive, so the GameCube, I got Wind Waker with, and I was like, wait, I can actually have Zelda games. Instead of just being like this rare thing that exists in an emulator, I can actually have them and play them.
I was going to say, but you didn't tell Gavin
Wowie.
that. When you first met him, it was like, Gavin, hello there, I'm Espio, I emulate Zelda games. And then Gavin screamed at you.
He closed the door on me, I had to try again.
Not good enough.
Gavin, how did you get into Zelda?
Well, for like the first 10 years of my life, I didn't even know the Zelda series existed. Like, it wasn't until I first played Super Smash Bros. Melee that I first learned about the series and some of the games in the series at that point. I wouldn't be able to play a Zelda game until like a year after that. My first game was actually the GBA remake of A Link to the Past, and it just took off from there, really. Like, I like the game a lot. So, I decided, I think I can get into this series, so I just pretty much got every game that came out after that.
I always forget about the Link to the Past GBA port. Did it actually add anything, or was it just the SNES game on handheld?
It had 4 swords on it.
Oh yes, that's it. That's what I'm thinking of. Because I first think of Four Swords where I think of Link to the Past. Because was that how you played Four Sword Adventures, or was that separately?
That was separate. That was a different game.
Because I'm thinking of the was it the DSi version of Four Swords? Was that similar to the GBA one?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Except it had actual single player in it.
Yeah.
Because Four Swords was multiplayer only for some stupid reason.
Longest time as well.
Yeah.
I ended up getting into Zelda because the first thing I ever saw of Zelda was it was in a magazine, and it was talking about how hard the water temple was in Ocarina of Time. And I remember seeing it and think, because I played Tomb Raider before Zelda, and I thought, oh, it looks kind of like Tomb Raider, but with a guy.
You're like, bring it.
And I was like, yeah, that looks kind of interesting, but I never really pursued it. And then when Super Smash Bros. Brawl came out, I saw Link there, as well as a load of other Nintendo characters. And I was kind of interested in where it came from. Because I only knew like 2 characters in Brawl, like Mario and Pikachu, and the Pokemon, sorry. And the rest of the Nintendo characters I didn't really know. And then when, and don't yell at me for this, when I saw an advert for Phantom Hourglass, I was like, that's going to be my first Zelda game. So I got Phantom Hourglass. I remember at the time I thought, oh my god, this is the best story I've ever experienced in any game. And I was like, now I realise it's because I just played platformers like up to that point. But
well, you got to start somewhere.
And then after that, I played Ocarina of Time on the Virtual Console. And actually, I think I got stuck on the Deku tree, and I was like, I don't like this game. And then I got Wind Waker, loved that game, and then went back to Ocarina, and then I've been a Zelda fan ever since then. So it's been
all right. You redeemed yourself.
Ride. Yeah, it started low, but I got there in the end. So I suppose we'll start off by saying like what we want to see from this year from Nintendo, because I honestly don't really know what they're going to do. The only thing I would really want would probably be Breath of the Wild 2, I think.
Yeah.
Or definitely release this year, because we don't know at the moment.
If they finally show off more of it.
Do you guys think it'll come this year?
Maybe.
Not really.
Considering it is a big anniversary this year, so maybe. But then again, Breath of the Wild did come out until the year after the 30th anniversary, so.
And there's been a pandemic.
Yeah, the pandemic could be a factor. I mean, they moved Breath of the Wild's release date because of the Switch, right? Yeah. Like. I mean, I forgot that it initially was supposed to come out in 2015.
and then 2016, and then 2017.
Yeah. And it just kept going. It reminded me of Xenoblade X's launch life. I got announced dead early, and it just kept getting pushed back and back and back.
Oh
yeah. But what would you like to see it from it, Tom? Just is it Breath of the Wild 2, or would you like to see like a Zelda collection or something?
I'd like to see them remake the Oracle games in the same vein they did Awakening, personally.
Oh yeah.
Bundle them together.
Yeah, I was actually wondering that too. Like have both games in one package with the Link's Awakening Switch art style.
Yeah.
It is about time.
I want a Skyward Sword HD remaster.
Oh.
Because I think Skyward Sword. No, listen. I'll get to it when we get to it, but I think Skyward Sword deserves a second chance.
Yeah, I don't think...
SS did nothing wrong.
It did things wrong.
Wait, what?
You say it. It's because it did things wrong that I want to see it remade.
Those are the kinds of games I always want to see remade. The ones that are a bit flawed, but you could tell with a bit more fine-tuning that could have been really good.
Yes, that is exactly how I feel about Skyward Sword. Because all these other Zelda remakes and remasters, they've been great. So if they gave that treatment to Skyward Sword, that game could finally shine the way it was meant to.
Imagine playing Skyward...
Oh no, it's okay, Tom. Go ahead.
I was going to say, imagine playing Skyward Sword with a Joy-Con drifting.
And motion control drifting.
Oh god, yeah.
The whole world's going left! I was just going to say, like, do you guys think that whatever they end up doing will be, like, if they end up doing a collection or any sort of celebration, do you reckon they're going to time limit it again, like they did with the Mario stuff?
I hope not.
That would suck.
I also don't think so. They get a bit of backlash.
They got a lot of backlash,
They don't care.
They also got a lot of money.
Yeah, so...
From myself included.
But you know how they gave more money if they didn't have timed releases?
Yeah, the Nintendo games have, like, really weird... they're really weird in the sense that they'll sell years after they've been released. Like, If you look at any like sort of Ubisoft or EA game, like their strongest sales are like within the first month, and then they just drop off the face of the earth. Whereas Nintendo games, like I think there was a graph that come out this year saying that the highest selling top selling Amazon games this year in the US, 2 of them or 3 of them were like from 2018, 2017 for the Switch. I think it was Breath of the Wild, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. That's technically a 2014 game. And mind you, you could do the same with Wind Waker too. I guess they could do like Majora's Mask, Ocarina of Time as well, but I don't know. I think if they were going to do those games, they were just going to be like the Super Mario 64 remaster in the 3D All Stars. Like it would just be really kind of half-assed. It would still be 4x3. It would,
Yeah.
Probably get rid of a load of speedrun glitches, and the red blood, and the Islam chanting.
They've only done that.
Yeah, I'd like to see a Zelda collection, but yeah, I don't know how far they'll go with it. But so yeah, let's move on to the games then, because I think have you guys played all the Zelda games or just the majority? Because I think I'd say I've played the majority.
All of them, baby.
Okay.
Oh, I haven't thought about it, but I thought I played them all, but no, I'm actually quite far away from that.
Yes, Phantom Hourglass.
Anytime.
Oh, have you not played the DS games, Espyo?
No, they're just sitting on my shelf.
Oh, right, yeah.
Time.
Yeah. I probably didn't give you a good impression of me just bitching on Phantom Hourglass a minute ago.
Gavin did the same, so...
Did he? Okay.
Oh.
That game's fine, apart from the fishing minigame, but I suppose
and
we'll get
the
to
music, but we'll get to that later.
So we'll go start off where it all began. Legend of Zelda for the NES and obviously the Famicom in Japan, but
not the Famicom, mate. The Famicom Disk System.
Oh, sorry.
Actually.
Let me just restart the podcast. I made a mistake.
Action.
Craig, leave.
No, don't. What have you done?
No.
I don't know how we got here.
It's just Joshing. Come on.
Tom, have you ever played the first Zelda game?
Yeah, when they did the whole 3DS ambassador shit.
Oh yeah.
I played the
ambassador shit. I remember that.
I played the first 2 Zelda games on that, and I 100%ed both of them, so I'm proud of that.
Oh wow, gamer.
Ooh, how did you? Did you do the second quest?
No.
Of course you couldn't. Nobody can do the second quest on their own.
Have you guys played? Have you played Espyo?
Nope. This is one of those titles I know more from videos and playthroughs than actually playing it.
Yeah. I'm assuming you've 100%ed it, Gavin.
Yeah, and I did the second quest.
I remember around, it was like I don't know if you guys remember this time period, but it was around the late 2000s when I think people who grew up with like the 80s games were really starting to get nostalgic for them. And all I kept hearing was, like how old school games were dead hard and dead cryptic and that. But the game that first taught me how like cryptic and bad it was The Legend of Zelda. Because I think I was the same as you, Tom. I think I played them on the ambassador shit.
Shit.
And I did enjoy it though. I think the first Legend of Zelda is really good. It's definitely a bit more of a guide game now, I think. But honestly, I played it without a guide for quite a while, and I did have a lot of fun with it. I kind of find it's one of the only NES games that I don't find too primitive to play. Like I really enjoyed the first Metroid as well. But yeah, I really enjoyed Legend of Zelda.
Yeah, me too. I would definitely prefer to play Zelda 1 over something like Metroid, though, because Metroid I actually can't stand.
But the first one?
The first Metroid, yeah. I actually don't like that one.
Okay, did you like Zero Mission?
I haven't played it.
Okay.
Really?
No.
I wouldn't like you.
It wasn't... How did I play Zero Mission? Was it on the Ambassador
Probably without all the Wii U Virtual Console, because the original cartridge is a bit pricey now.
No, it was on the Wii Virtual Console. I mean, from what you've seen of it, Espyo, do you think it looks like a decent game? I know it's like we said, it's a bit more of a guide game now, but
yeah, no, it looks certainly ambitious. So for the time, it was probably quite the gem. Even nowadays, I'm sure there are a lot of things that are good about it. Just flat out objective good. It doesn't quite hold the test of time with no fault of its own.
speaking of time, I think that's the main thing. Like a lot of these older games aren't fussed about wasting your time.
Yeah,
and
that's
kind of
mainly why they
doing.
were so difficult, because they were short, so they just like artificially increased the playtime by making them super difficult.
That's it.
Yeah, not to go off on a rant, but I recently played. I recently got the SNK 40th anniversary collection for the Switch, and it's just like a load of old arcade games in there from like the early 80s and late 70s, and they're all like that. They're all insanely hard, but they're so short. So that was like the whole design philosophy, was for you to spend as much money as you could on a short game.
Oh yeah, Zelda 1 was different though, because it wasn't a short game, not really.
No, not for the time period, I suppose.
No,
how many dungeons were there in that game?
There was 9.
Wow, that's quite a few then.
Yeah, and also, it was one of the first games to have a battery backup.
Mm.
Because on the original disc system, you could actually save directly to the disc, but we didn't have that over here in the West, so they came up with the battery-backed save feature for us.
That's where it came from.
It was a godsend app.
Mm.
Because back then, you didn't have saves, or you had to rely on passwords, but this game, you just
sucked.
save your game, and you can come back to it later.
I'm having to go through the first Crash Bandicoot with passwords. I fucking hated that. I mean, you could save the game, but it was really like selective about when you could save. But
nice work, but you missed 1 box, 2 boxes, 3 boxes, 4 boxes.
So I guess we'll move on to the black sheep of the franchise. Well, I heard it's the black sheep of the franchise. I don't know if people still think that. It's Zelda 2.
It is the black sheep. Just gonna say that right now.
Yeah. What do you guys think of this? Because you said you'd 100% this one, right, Tom?
Yeah. I didn't play it when I first downloaded it, but I watched the game playthrough from Game Grumps. Funnily enough.
Oh, our favourite.
Oh boy,
most experts.
It made me want to play it, and I really enjoyed it. I think it's one of the. I think it's better than Zelda 1 personally.
Ooh.
Oh, okay. Is this one you've missed out on Espyo, or did you play this one?
Yeah, exactly the same situation as Zelda 1.
First one, yeah. It looks quite different. Gavin, would you care to elaborate? Because I haven't played a lot of Zelda 2, to be honest.
Well, everyone knows that it went for a side-scroll, more action-orientated gameplay. The overworld map is still top-down, but this was a big departure from the first. It was
like a full-on RPG.
Yeah, it had RPG elements. You get experience points from killing enemies and from picking up special bags.
But it was handled a bit jankily, wasn't it? Like, you can reset your XP or something, I've heard.
No, you
can. An exploit?
No, not quite. Like, it's actually a part of the gameplay that, like, if you die, you lose something.
You lost all your experience points that you gained.
That's it. Jeez.
You keep all your level ups, but your level ups cap at 8 each, so you can level up your defense, your magic. This was the first game to introduce magic, by the way. You could actually level up your magic so that magic spells would use up less magic, and you could then increase your sword attack power, and it would cap off at 8 each. It was an interesting mechanic, especially since RPGs were just coming around at the time.
They were, yeah.
Well,
it's interesting that they decided to do a side-scrolling RPG, though. That was still kind of unique.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I think about it, the second game of NES franchises were very derivative. Like, look at Mario 2.
I was about to say that.
Like, look at Castlevania 2. Like, that was very different.
Yeah, it's kind of like they were still... They were still figuring out what worked, I suppose. Like, if their first game was successful, I think it gave them an excuse to go, okay, let's try something else.
Yeah. Though, to be fair to Zelda 2, I actually do like the sword play in that game. Like, it's actually a bit more strategic because you can attack low, you can defend low, etc. But so can the enemies. So you have to try to outwit them. Especially the Iron Knuckles in the dungeons. They were pretty tough to get through.
They're like a staple of the Zelda series of being fairly difficult, aren't they?
Yeah, this game was balls hard, and I hate it because of it. Like,
that was another thing.
It starts off pretty fine. Like, the difficulty, I think, is fair, like in the first 2 palaces, but once you get to Death Mountain, which is only after the second palace of 7, shit hits the fan. Death Mountain is way too hard for this early in the game.
Bro.
Like,
I was going to say,
isn't that hard.
I've heard the stories about Death Mountain, but I didn't really know why it was considered so difficult.
Because it's a maze. There's enemies in there that hit really hard, and you have to go there too because you need to get the hammer to get rid of roadblocks. Like, it's a required location. And as if that wasn't bad enough, don't get a game over in this game. Just don't.
Because you start again.
You get sent back to the beginning area of the game, where the original Zelda is sleeping.
Oh yeah.
Because you're trying to wake her up, you're trying to find the Triforce of Courage. Like, this is actually the first Zelda game to have the complete Triforce in it, because in the first game you were trying to find the Triforce of Power, and Zelda had Triforce of Courage on her.
There was no no, she had the wisdom, right? But there was no courage yet.
Courage is
am I wrong?
So that's the one that Link's trying to find. That's where he goes to the Great Palace for. When you get to the Great Palace, suddenly the game gives you a checkpoint. It's like, why now?
It is kind of weird how you'd think the first game will be the one that feels more dated, but I probably think this one is more dated than the first game.
In
Maybe
some
because it tried to be a bit more complex.
Yeah, in some aspects, definitely. It's definitely not as cryptic as Zelda 1, I feel, although I got stuck on Zelda 2 for 2 years. You want to know why? Because the hammer knocks down trees on the overworld, but I had no idea it did that. Because late in the game, you're supposed to find this hidden town in the woods. You have to knock down the trees to find it. I had no idea. I was stuck for 2 years on it. Other than that, I wasn't really stuck on the game. Like, to give
I think
Zelda
most
2
difficulty comes from... I think it comes from like more enemy encounters, I guess, because like you said, they hit hard and stuff rather than like the puzzles.
Yeah, they hit hard, and of course, there's also the fact that game over sends you back to the
I was going to say, can you imagine that like happening in modern like RPGs? Like you're playing Xenoblade, you're 40 hours in. Oh no, I've died suddenly. Oh, I'm back on Gramps. Where? I'm trying to find the fucking. What's happening? Yeah, so I guess we'll move on to... This is probably the game that I think is still... I don't think it's aged a bit, to be honest, and that's A Link to the Past for the Super Nintendo.
Oh, yeah. A Link to the Past still to this day impresses me, because...
Me too.
This game is 30 years old, and yet it has aged beautifully.
I was going to say, like, NES games I struggle to go back to. I have no problem going to SNES games, because I think they're... I don't think they'll ever age. They're so... They look great, they play great, and A Link to the Past is always the first game I think of when I think of the SNES.
Yeah, it really sets the standard for the Zelda series.
Yeah. Did you ever play it, Tom?
Yeah, I absolutely adored the dungeons.
Yes, dungeons are amazing in that game.
Obviously, it's probably the first Zelda game where dungeons were a lot more fleshed out, I suppose.
Yeah.
And the bosses were really cool as well.
I think the formula of Zelda got solidified in this game. Especially top-down Zelda.
Yeah,
certainly,
for sure.
Did you play it on the original cartridge, Tom, or did you play it on a re-release?
It was the Wii or the Wii U. I can't remember which.
Oh, the Virtual Console, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I played it on the because I remember playing it right before the sequel came out, Link Between Worlds, and I knew it was similar to Link of the Past in some aspects. So I wanted to play Link to the Past first, and I think I got it on the Wii U Virtual Console, and that's where I ended up playing it.
Makes sense.
Have you surely you've played A Link to the Past, though, Espyo? Surely.
Surprisingly, no.
I did play
Link Between Worlds,
Why did
but
we
not
invite
this one.
Guy? Why did we invite this guy into the podcast?
I swear I know what a Zelda is. I searched on Google before I came here.
It's the guy with the cap.
No, but Link Between Worlds... Link to the Past is one of those games that I didn't play. I know from secondhand. Like, after starting off with Ocarina of Time and the like, it's really interesting to just go back and learn about what A Link to the Past did first. That became such a staple in the other games. It's really surprising how stuff like the hookshot, if I'm not mistaken, made its debut there. You're like, you start off on Ocarina and you're like, yeah, this makes sense. 3D world, like this cool hook thing that allows you to move, and then you see it in Link to the Past and you're like, no, the SNES is not this powerful. No, what is this?
Nandayo.
It really is.
What are you thinking of A Link to the Past, Gavin? Because I mean, it's widely regarded as one of the best in the series.
And I think it earns that. I think it earns that reputation. It really is one of the best games in the series.
Yeah.
Like I said, this game is 30 years old and yet it's still aged greatly. Like there's it's also a very content-packed Zelda game for the time too, because it has like a dozen dungeons. It has 2 separate worlds. You've got the light world and the dark world. There's a ton of items to find. And I'm impressed because all this was squeezed into just 8 megabits of memory. Like, how did they do
that's
that?
insane.
nice technical wizardry right there.
Yeah, I think this is the game as well where, I mean, don't get me wrong, like, I liked the compositions of Zelda 1 and 2, but Link to the Past was like the one where I think the music just came to life.
Yeah, like the Super Nintendo, that legendary sound chip gives a really great orchestral feel to it.
I'm pretty sure this is the first time they play, is it the Dark Hyrule Castle theme or something like that?
The Hyrule Castle theme.
Yeah, but it's like I think it's the Hyrule Castle. I think it's in this game, but it's the first time I played that, and that's one of my favorite tunes in the series.
Yeah.
Personally.
It was also the first game to have Zelda's Lullaby and Ganon's theme in it.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah, Zelda's Lullaby is actually in A Link to the Past.
I've only played it once, so I'm pretty fuzzy on the details.
Yeah.
But I do remember really liking it, and it was a really cool precursor to get to play that right before A Link Between Worlds.
Right.
But so we'll move on to Link's Awakening and the DX re-release.
Oh yeah, this is the weird one.
Yeah, it's a weird one, but I respect how this game feels because it's kind of like Majora's Mask, which we'll get to soon, but it's just so weird.
Yeah, like it was the first game to not take place in Hyrule. It takes place on Koholint Island. There's no Zelda, there's no Triforce, there's no Ganon. It's just more like a personal journey of Link.
It reminds me a bit of when Mario did Mario Sunshine, and they were no longer in Mushroom Kingdom anymore. I know there was Bowser still and what have you, but there was no Goombas or anything like that, and everything was different.
Well, yeah, that's because it was based on a different game.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel this game went.
Yeah.
How did you feel about Link's Awakening, Tom? Have you played the game?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought like it's proper fucking whack, isn't it?
Yeah, all those random Nintendo cameos.
But yeah, again, I watched Sugar Conroy's playthrough of it.
When did you do that? Was that recent?
No, that was
Years
like
ago.
2012, 2013. Like it was.
Oh, okay. I think I'd stopped watching him by that point, but no, I agree with what you say, Tom, because I wasn't huge on this game, to be honest. Like I said, I really like the feeling of the game, and how weird it is. Like, I think the first time I walked into, is it the shop where you find the Yoshi doll?
Oh, the trendy game.
Yeah, yeah. I walked in there and I was like, fucking Yoshi, what's he doing here?
Meanwhile, the chain chomp. Did you react to the chain chomp?
Yes, the chain chomp as well. Yeah, I was like, what the?
Yeah, these cameos were weird because it wasn't just Mario enemies. There was the Yoshi doll. There was a picture of Princess Peach. There was Wart. Wart was in there for some reason.
There was like Kirby enemies as well, right?
Yeah, and the 7th dungeon had an enemy called Anti-Kirby, and he attacks by sucking you in. Also, freaking Richard is in this game. Nobody knows who Richard is.
He's a little guy from Kirby, right?
No, Richard. He was from For the Frog the Bell Tolls, the Japanese-only game that released a year before. You know the Sebly Prince. He's the assist trophy in Smash.
Yes, I do know who you mean.
Yeah, he transforms into a frog and a snake. That's the game Richard comes from. He's like a rival to the Sebly Prince.
Okay.
And his music, the music that plays in his house, is also taken from that game as well.
It's like a massive grab bag of different series and just thrown into like a Zelda skin, a Zelda game.
Yeah.
Have you played Espyo? I know you started with Ocarina of Time, but did you ever play? Because I don't think you played too many of the handheld ones, right?
I think nowadays it's a bit more 50-50.
Yeah.
Yeah, for quite a while it was mostly the 3D games. Yes, I did play this one. Not emulated, but re-released on
3DS?
somewhere. It might have been the 3DS, yes.
That's where I played it.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's a bit of the same story as A Link to the Past, except first-hand. So, as you know, I started with the 3Ds, and then when I actually came to play Link's Awakening, I was like, alright, it's a Game Boy Color game. What is this going to be? As complex as Tetris? Not any more than that, really. So I started playing it, started seeing things that became staples later on, and I'm like, progressively more impressed. So my low expectations just gave me a really good journey all throughout.
Yeah, I heard this one's quite, it's like one way or the other, because I think me and you, Tom, were a bit like because I'll be honest, I didn't finish the original game. It didn't impress me enough, or it didn't engage me enough to continue on with it. But I know, I think you really like it, Espyo, and I think you really like it too, Gavin, right?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I like it because it's more oddball. Like, it does subvert expectations.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense considering
fucking
the
Yoshi.
setting of the scene of the game, and also the fact that you can actually steal from the shop.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I remember getting killed by the guy first. I was like, what?
Yeah, if you do that, your name gets changed to Thief for the rest of the game, and if you go back in, you get killed by the shopkeeper.
The DX release as well added a extra dungeon, right? And
the colored dungeon.
Is that where it added the camera side quest?
Yeah, it had the camera shop in it because it was compatible with the Gameboy printer at the time.
Oh boy!
I mean, it's a neat feature, but a lot of the pictures that you could get were missable, and they were very obtuse to find. Like, there's one where you have to stand in front of the castle, the one that Richard used to live in, but you have to do it before you actually go in there. Oh. And Richard will actually join you for the photo shoot. And it's only like that one point in the game where you can get it. There's also some that you can only get when you have Marin traveling around with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, for a very brief moment.
And one of the photos you could only get by actually stealing from the shop, which means you had to have your name changed to Thief if you wanted to 100% the DX game.
That buggy Gavin was like, I'm not a thief!
It was the very last thing I did on my playthrough because I just didn't want to be Thief for that long.
Same, I think.
So next up, we've got one of the biggest games in the series, I mean, it's the first one of the most important games of all time, and that's Ocarina of Time.
Yeah.
I mean,
this game.
Sorry, Gavin, carry on.
This game really was something else because back then it was like one of the biggest, most anticipated games of its generation.
I can't remember. I think I was still eating baby food.
It was hyped to hell and back. It had a very long development cycle. It was meant to be on the 64 DD, which was an add-on for the N64, but that thing didn't go anywhere, so they just moved it over to a cartridge. And then they finally released it like 3 years after announcing it. Like, it is a very long, complicated development cycle for this game.
Was it, when did you play Ocarina of Time?
Ocarina of Time?
Oh my God,
I want one of those.
I want one of those.
It's a ROM hack.
When did you play it? Oh, I'm getting a thing now, like, you know when you wake up and you can see the moon in Hyrule Field at night, and it's just Tom's fucking face.
Hey, and he's just staring down and saying, hey,
It's just there, it's like radiant. When did you play Ocarina of Time, Tom? Because I'm surely you must have played it.
I think it was on the Wii.
It was on the Wii. I think you said. I remember you saying earlier. I just wanted to double check.
Back on the Wii, and I got stuck on it fucking loads, but
yeah. I think Zelda games are like when you're not used to the way that they do puzzles, you can get really stuck. But like once you know that, oh, I have to shoot the arrow here, or I have to burn this log here, or light this candle here, it becomes a lot easier. Sorry, carry on, Tom. What were you saying?
I remember, I think it was back when we used Midit. I was on that and playing it at the same time. I finally beat it whilst talking to Gavin and Espyo.
Did they help you through it?
That seems about right.
But, yeah, power of friendship.
Brilliant. Have you played it since, Tom? Did you play? I guess you played the 3D remake.
Yeah, I played that, and thought it looked fucking good.
What did you think, Espyo? Because did you say it was your first Zelda game?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
the first Zelda game of all. So yeah, I mean, it did so many things so well. It was so engaging, especially at the time, and I think those are really the biggest contributing factors to its value. Because, well, I mean, graphically, it was good for the time, but it's nothing to write home about. I guess musically, it's the same. In terms of puzzle design and story, it's pretty much the same. It's not anything to write home about, but it is just good at what it does. Not spectacular, just good. So that all that combined really, especially for somebody's first time, really allows it to be like a beacon of what the series is. That really is what happened to me. Not having any prior experience, just experiencing a little bit of everything that the Zelda universe had to offer, from the puzzles to the side quests, the people and locations. It was a really good, collection of all of that.
Yeah,
good representation and just fun.
Ocarina of Time's like you said, it's got a bit of everything that the Zelda series had up to that point, including upgrades and all this kind of thing. So you've got like an all-in-one package there, in a really cool 3D adventure. I know obviously the world's a bit barren now, but obviously, like you were saying, Gavin, back then it's bloody mind blowing.
Yeah.
Because it's your favourite Zelda game, right, Gavin? Or has that changed?
No, it still is my favorite.
Yeah, it's my favourite too.
It's not just my favorite Zelda game. It's not just my favorite game on the N64. It's my favorite game of all time. I don't care if it's aged. I will admit it's aged, but that's not enough for me to deter me from it these days.
Yeah, there are more factors that come into play.
Yeah, because I didn't play this game when it first came out on the N64. I didn't get to play it until it was re-released on the GameCube as a Wind Waker bonus. That was actually my first time. But this game couldn't have come at a better time for me because I was going through some very difficult times because I was in high school. I know it wasn't a good time for me. But this game, this game taught me that growing up is going to be scary. You can't hold on to your childhood forever. And growing up is going to be scary, but you can get through it. You can get through it with just a little bit of determination. But
that's really cool because that's like really metaphorical, but that is literally what happens in the game, right? Like,
it really is.
Like Link is just suddenly wakes up from 7 years and he's an adult, and now the world's gone to shit, and he has to fix it.
Fuck, that's actually now that we're all adults, I think we can all sort of relate to that a bit more.
This game gave me like a lot of different emotions as I played through it for the first time. Like I felt happy, I felt sad at times, I even felt scared at times.
I felt scared.
Fucking Jabu Jabu was the one thing that the game. It's like it wasn't the Shadow Tempo, it wasn't the Bomb of the World, it wasn't the Dead Hand, but it was that stupid fish that scared me.
I still love that story.
And I have to question all those DeviantArt people why they're into this shit.
It's my favorite game. Well, not my favorite game of all time, but definitely my favorite Zelda game. I played it about 10, 11 years after it came out. So I like to think that I don't really have like the nostalgia goggles for it. I do a bit because I think when I played it, I was 15 I think I was when I played it for the first time. But I played Wind Waker before it, so I had no trouble going back to Ocarina of Time at all. I know I started out with it and I got to the Deku tree and was like, I got stuck and I was like, eh. But then I came back after Wind Waker after learning these Zelda conventions, and it was able to get me through it. And I love some of the puzzles in Ocarina of Time. I love how instead of just making the kid to adult a story mechanic, it's actually a game mechanic. Like with the Beneath the Well, you have to go back in time and do something there to make something happen in the future. The Spirit Temple's another one. You go.
If anything, that was underplayed.
Yeah, it was underplayed. It only I think those are probably the only 2 times that they really did something like that.
Can't remember any other.
Yeah, but I loved stuff like that. I think it has some of the best dungeons in the series. I love the music. The music is, I mean, you got like Gerudo Valley, the Forest Temple, the Spirit Temple, Hyrule Field. There's just so many amazing tracks in that game.
Yeah, not bad for MIDI.
No, not bad at all. And I think that was when I mean, I didn't really do many side quests in like Wind Waker or what have you, but the side quests in Ocarina of Time, there isn't a huge amount, but I do think you get some good stuff from them. Like the Begoran Sword, and is Epona's completely optional, right? Like you don't need her.
Yeah, she's optional.
Correct.
Yeah. Oh no, you needed to get into the into Lake Hylia, don't you?
No, there's actually a ladder there.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, there's a ladder on the wall. Like I don't know how people didn't notice that, but there is a ladder that lets you go into Lake Hylia from the field.
It is on the side of the pillar, though, isn't it? Like it's easily missable.
Well, yeah, but it is there.
Yeah.
The Gerudo stuff, you can use a hook shot, right?
Yeah, you can just use a long shot to cross the valley and get into the.
I think it's really cool finding out that was it the Dark Knuckle or the Iron Knuckle? Sorry, they're actually Gerudo in disguise, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Lore intensifies.
Was that a lore thing, or was that just because they lazily was like, "Oh, we need a model to put this thing on"?
I think it was the ladder because they removed the Gerudo from the 3DS remake for some reason.
Did they?
Yeah.
That's exactly what makes me think it's the opposite, actually. Like, they kept it as a lore thing because they had to squeeze as many polygons as they could. They wouldn't be placing extra polygons just because. And on the 3DS, well, 3DS can handle it, so screw the lore, let's maximize performance. And they removed it.
Well, I played Majora's Mask 3D recently, and the Gerudo are in that when you beat an Iron Knuckle. Like, when the armor fell off, you got to see the Gerudo's necklace and what have you.
I don't remember that. I mean, that's such a small detail. I wouldn't have caught that.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Okay, so I guess saying that, we'll move on to Majora's Mask.
Before we actually move on to Majora's Mask, question, boys: the Water Temple underrated, or actually deserves the hate? Yes or no?
Okay, I'll let you
None
start.
of those. I would say it's overhated. Like, I don't think it deserves the hate. You gotta really focus. The Water Temple is not that bad. You just gotta remember that damn small key right when you lower the water level.
What do you think, Tom?
I pretty much agree with Gavin. He's spot on.
Yeah, I played when I played the Water Temple the first time. I had no trouble whatsoever. I didn't know what the whole thing was about.
I will admit,
I remember thinking back to that magazine and being like, why did they hate it so much? But then when I played through the game a second time, oh my god, I got stuck on it for hours. I don't know how.
I mean, I will admit it is slightly unintuitive to get through it, but again, when you know the Water Temple well, then you're not gonna struggle with it.
I don't think I struggle with it now.
The main issue was really having to take the iron boots on and off over and over and over again.
Yeah, that sucked.
Very
tedious.
tedious.
That's one of the things the remake fixed.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It was definitely the worst temple in the game. Like, don't get me wrong, but
yes.
It's because of that, though. It wasn't really because of its design. It's because of the constant taking off of the iron boots and what have you.
Yeah.
So we'll move on to Majora's Mask. This was and it still is such a highly loved game. And kind of like Link's Awakening was really different. Like, considering that they just made Ocarina of Time, which at the time was considered a masterpiece, then they go off and make Majora's Mask. I mean, what did you think of Majora's Mask, Tom?
It is my favourite Zelda game.
The gas.
I just think there's something about the atmosphere of it and how the world's so entwined with each other during this 3-day cycle. It builds on the characters and the personalities, and it's just a beautiful experience.
I'll agree with that. I think it's a really unique feeling game. Like, not just in terms of Zelda, but just in general, like the atmosphere. What do you think about Espyo?
It's pretty much what Tom said. I mean, at that point, Zelda just stopped being like a video game and actually became like a form of art, an adventure actually. What Miyamoto actually wanted from the first game, well, it wasn't quite reflected in Majora's Mask, but like the entire feelings of uncertainty and like courage, overcoming all sorts of challenges. Majora's Mask really went into that sort of side with all the emotions that it played with, and I think on that front, it really excelled.
It had such a in terms of Zelda, like, there is a lot of questionable stuff and mysterious stuff in Zelda, but Majora's Mask just takes the cake for everything. Like, why the weird statues you get when you make the Elegy of Emptiness, the moon. Why does the moon look like that? Why is the Happy Mask Salesman such an eccentric little like? It's just a strange game. What did you think of it, Gavin?
Well, pretty much what all you said. Like, it's actually pretty funny because this game was probably like the first truly divisive Zelda game when it first came out because of the 3-day cycle. But now it's become one of the most beloved games in the series, and for good reason, because this was really the first game in the series that really focused on its world, on its characters. Because the fact that it was on a 3-day cycle mean you could actually focus on all this and not really compromise too much on everything else.
This is the definitely the one Zelda game where I'd say the only way to play this game is to 100% it.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to help out these people. You care about these people because they're gonna die at the end of the 3-day cycle.
If you don't do the side quests in this game, you are missing out on more than half the game.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And on the feeling of the game as well, because in and of itself, it's like a gimmicky Groundhog Day situation. That's all the game has to offer. So without the side quests, you're really missing out.
Yeah. You're missing the substance.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's the backbone of the whole experience.
I love because obviously the main mechanic of the game, apart from the 3-day cycle, was all the masks you can collect. And I really like some of the masks. I do. It's one of those where when I was younger, I would have loved to have been able to just slip on the Giant's mask anywhere and just wreak havoc. That would have been amazing.
Or the Fierce Deity mask.
Or the Fierce Deity mask, yeah. But even little ones like the Bunny Hood and ones like that, I just found so cool because like they were almost like upgrades that you didn't really get in Ocarina of Time.
Yeah. It's like Majora's Mask was all about the side quests because the main game's very short. You only got 4 dungeons.
Yes. They were, and the thing is, well, they weren't. I don't think they're the best dungeons in the series by far.
Yeah, they're just there. I mean, everybody loves Stone Tower Temple, even though I find it tedious because
I find it tedious.
Mainly
I think the music's
music
incredible, though.
I like the Great Bay Temple more personally.
Yeah, I've heard some people compare the Great Bay Temple to the Water Temple in Ocarina of Time.
They're nothing alike. They are
no, they're
alike.
Not. I find the Great Bay
Temple.
Temple.
They are both tricky.
Better. They can be, yeah.
They are tricky. Like there might be a lot of back and forth before you realize what you missed and what you actually have to do. But at the same time, it's not that bad. Plus, it shows that Termina is actually more industrialized than Hyrule.
That's the cool thing about this game is that I know I was on about with Mario Sunshine before, and Lynx Awakening, but Termina is such a different place to Hyrule that Well, I remember when they said Breath of the Wild was going to be set in Hyrule again. I was like, I would love. I hope this is something they do with Breath of the Wild too. Is I hope they go somewhere new, and just some place we haven't seen before, and so they can expand the world a bit more. Because Majora's Mask was one of the first games to do that in the series.
Yeah, it expanded a lot. Like it was the game that really kicked off the theories.
Yeah, definitely. Was Link dead the whole time?
Also, fun fact, but Majora's Mask came out 6 months in Japan before the US got it, and they actually made some changes to the game before they localized it.
Okay.
Like, do you know the owl statues in the game?
Oh yeah.
In the Japanese version, you couldn't even quick save there.
But did you only save by traveling back in time then?
Yes, in the Japanese.
Oh my god.
Version.
Wow.
Yeah, but that's also why the English version of Majora's Mask only has 2 save files. Because there wasn't enough flash memory in the cartridge to potentially hold 3 quick save datas at once. So that's why we only have 2 save files on our version.
Wow.
I will say that Majora's Mask, the original one anyway, it was kind of like Pikmin for me. I think I've told the story before, but when I first played the game, I really couldn't get into the 3-day cycle. I didn't like feeling, especially in a Zelda game where there's so much to explore and do, I didn't like feeling like I'd have to go back and do it all again. And
yeah, like you had to improvise or plan ahead a lot in that game.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, and I definitely at the time that I played it, I wasn't really I didn't really appreciate that kind of gameplay. So I actually didn't really like the game. I didn't play the game again until the remake came out, and that's what made me fall in love with the game.
Yeah,
but I suppose we can get to the remake soon, especially because I've played it recently. I've definitely got some opinions on that.
Yeah, a lot of people love Majora's Mask. I mean, the funny thing is, did you know Majora's Mask was only made in 1 year?
Yeah, that's the insane thing.
That's why it reuses a lot of assets from Ocarina of Time, because API Numa was only given 1 year to make the full game.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's why I thought, I know obviously things are a bit different now, but that's why I'm surprised it's taken this long for Breath of the Wild 2, I think, unless they are doing something super different.
Really? A 3D Zelda game taking forever to come out? Wow!
No, but one that uses the same assets as the original game. Like, they don't have to recreate stuff, though. So
but that's not usually very well accepted by the gamer community, so
that's
why
true,
they're probably...
So we'll move back to the handhelds then, and with Oracle of Seasons and Oracle of Ages. I've only actually played Oracle of Seasons. I haven't played Ages yet. I've got it on my 3DS ready to play.
Oh, you're missing out, mate. You have to play both games to get the full experience. Like that is like a law. Okay.
It's cool that they're so different as well. Like, then it's not like Pokemon where you just get like, oh, there's a new enemy.
They have very similar assets. They're very similar gameplay, but Seasons is more action based. Ages is more puzzle based. They have a lot of shared items, but there's also some exclusive items between them.
And these games were developed by Capcom, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Was that the first time that Nintendo had given the reins to another developer?
Yeah, these were meant to be a trilogy of games, actually.
Oh.
But they removed one of the games because it was too complicated to link them all together. It was too much.
Oh, I do think I remember hearing about that, yeah.
Also, one of the original ideas was to remake the first Zelda game. That's why Oracle Seasons has a lot of the same bosses as Zelda 1. That's like a carryover from that idea.
Okay.
Because, you fight things like Digdogger and Dodongo and Gleeok because of that.
I said Season's the only one I've played, but I did really enjoy my time with it. Have you played both, Tom?
I've only played a bit of Seasons, I'll be honest.
Okay, right. Is that why you wanted a remake then for this year? Because it'll make you play him again.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah.
One thing I did like though was the animal companions. I thought they were really cool.
Yeah, you had Dimitri the Dodongo who could swim. You had Ricky the kangaroo who could punch things, and
they're exclusive between versions, right? Like, they're the same.
It actually depends on what you do, which game you complete first. Actually, like you always get Dimitri to leave Crescent Island in Ages, but at the same time, you might not be able to summon him at any time because you get a flute to summon these buddies.
Yeah.
But there's also Moose, the bear, the flying bear, who hates water. If you try to fly over water, nope, he's just gonna sink like a stone, even if you're right above it. He just will not go over deep water. And there's also the fact that the freaking fish is back from Ocarina of Time.
The fish!
Yeah, Jabble Jabble's belly in the dungeon in Oracle of Ages, and you thought the water temple in Ocarina of Time was bad? This
I've heard horror stories about this
is
one.
awful.
Yeah.
Jabble in Oracle of Ages is an actual awful dungeon. The music was not helping either. It's the same 30-second loop, and it just got on my nerves.
I will say that the things about Link's Awakening and the Oracle games that is a big factor of why they're hard to play is the constant switching around of items, because you've only got 2 item buttons.
Yeah, that's a big issue. Another reason to remake the Oracle games then.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely. 4 Swords, I think, Gavin, just explain to me, because the only one I've played is like the DSi anniversary game of it. Is that exactly the same?
It's mostly the same, but it's just the anniversary edition added some new content.
Okay, because I know me and you and Tom played through that together.
Yes.
That was fun.
Yeah, we all 3 of us played it.
Yeah, we won it I think it was on it all day, weren't we?
Well, it's not a long game. It's like a 2-hour game at most.
I found it fun though.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just glad I was finally able to play it because I don't think anyone got to play the original when it was released on the GBA along with a remake of A Link to the Past because not only did you need your own GBA system for each player, but you also needed a link cable, you also needed a copy of the game for everyone.
Yeah. And
some content was locked behind 4 Swords because A Link to the Past added some new stuff.
A lot of GameCube and Game Boy Advance games, like the interconnectivity, I know for 4 Swords Adventures, which we'll talk about soon, a lot of those games required a lot from the player, like not in terms of attention, but in terms of like accessories and shit, for you to like make the most out of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a bit of a shame really, but the DSi game that I played, I really liked. I thought me and Gavin had a great time. Yeah. Didn't we, Tom?
Yeah, we did.
I mean, I could actually play it because it also has a single player mode. Because again, 4 Swords was multiplayer only.
Yeah.
You need at least 2 people, 2 GBAs, a link cable, and 2 copies of the game. It was nobody. I really wanted to play the game, but I just couldn't.
I tried so hard.
A Link to the Past, the A Link to the Past remake that came on the same cartridge had a bonus dungeon in it. You could only access it by beating both games. I missed out on that, and it turns out I really did miss out because that's actually a really cool dungeon I've heard. Like it has hard versions of some of the Dark World bosses. It actually ends with a battle against 4 Dark Links, representing the 4 Links, and when you beat them, you get a bonus ending.
Has that got actual like in this dungeon? Has it got actual puzzles in it? Like, or is it just a boss?
I'm actually not sure. But
okay.
Most people just use like a cheat device to get past the guard.
Yeah.
To get in there because nobody could play 4 Swords.
Yeah. True. Yeah. Right. So next up, let's talk about Wind Waker. Now, when this was announced, this was not very well received. I mean, I wasn't in the gaming space to see that reception, but I remember hearing that no one really liked the look of it, especially after there was like a GameCube Space World demo, wasn't there?
Yeah, the Space World 2000 demo. It had Link and Ganondorf in a short sword fight. People thought the next Zelda game was going to look like that. So when Wind Waker was announced, people were like, "Oh no, are they really turning Zelda into a kiddie cartoon?"
Yeah. It came up and everyone was like, "Oh, it's Peppa Pig crossed with Zelda."
Pig was the thing back then. Thank God.
I'm Daddy Link, oink.
Oh God, damn it. Please don't. I can't stand Peppa Pig.
So I think we've all played Wind Waker here. It actually used to be one of my top favorite Zeldas. Not too much anymore, but what did you think of Wind Waker, Tom? And when did you first play it?
Well, I played the demo. It's, the 20-minute demo you got on the collector's edition.
Yeah.
I kept playing that when I was younger, and then the next time I'd play it would be when I owned a Wii, but I rebought it. I rebought it.
Wait.
I bought it for the GameCube so I could play it on my Wii.
Wait, what?
The Wii had.
Oh no! Right, just the way it was put was really strange.
A bit,
You want
I
to
bought
play
it
it
my
again?
N64 so I could play it on my Switch. Sorry, carry on.
I thought it was fantastic. The dungeons were good. I mean, it was one of the best soundtracks of any Zelda game, I think.
Yeah. It had such a good sense of adventure.
Oh yeah, that's what I loved about Wind Waker personally, was the sense of adventure. Like, a lot of people hate the sailing. I personally liked it because, adventure is out there. Go explore.
There was
When
still
the
stuff
King
to
of
find as well.
Yeah, lots of islands, lots of secrets.
It felt like there was something around every corner, I think.
Oh, yeah,
And
More or less.
it was easier to find stuff like that. Like, say, like in Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask, because you're on land for most of it, sometimes things can blend in together, so you don't really see it, if you get me. Whereas in Wind Waker, you'd there's time. Let's talk about the what is it, Fire Island, where you find those bracelets or something.
Fire Mountain. Yeah.
Fire Mountain. That's it. Like, you're going to see that from ages away, and you're going to be like, "Holy shit, what's that?" And your attention's drawn to it. So I think the world design was really good, if not simple, obviously, because of the sea.
Yeah.
What did you think of it, Espyo?
Let's see. So this was the real first Zelda game I owned, and it was actually the first game I owned that wasn't a Mega Drive game. So that was actually my first foray into the world of like analog sticks and all.
Wow.
Go figure. I had played it. I had played with analog sticks in like cousins' houses and all, but this was actually my really first experience wrestling with cameras and
I was going to
such.
say, did you try playing it on the D-pad at first and was like, this is a really small?
I can't remember, but no, I think at that point I already knew about analog sticks, and I was like, yes, this is finally happening. I'm finally big boy. And didn't really trip me up quite a lot because the game design is just so good in that game. So even for a newcomer like me, it actually was a really good entry.
It's weird.
There's nothing weird about it.
Because that was kind of like you, Espio. My Wind Waker was like my Zelda game. I know I played Phantom Hourglass, but Wind Waker was the game that got me used to how Zelda games work. And it's really strange how that game is so good at doing it, considering the first dungeon in the game is without your sword.
Yeah, a stealth set.
Yeah, and I know I had a friend who really liked the game until he got to Forsaken Fortress, until he lost his sword, and then he didn't really go back to it. And I thought, that's such a shame, because I like Forsaken Fortress anyway, but the rest of the game is just masterful. What did you think, Gavin? Sorry.
Okay, so this was the second game I played in the series. I got it along with the Ocarina of Time bonus disc, and I just really absolutely love the sense of adventure and exploring that this game gave you. Even though the sailing got a bit tedious, it got very tedious. I didn't really mind much because I just loved seeing the sights, just discovering new islands, new secrets, all that stuff. Even though me personally, I kind of found the dungeons to be a little weak, especially compared to other entries up to that point. But
I don't think they was good as Ocarina of Time.
They serve their purpose, but at the same time, they're just like the Earth Temple, Wood Temple, Wind Temple. They are great. Other than that, the others they're just there. Again, I didn't mind because of the exploring.
Isn't that like a part of the cut content though, with the Wind and Earth temples? Is because the reason why their mechanics and stuff are so similar is because of the tight schedule that the game had.
Yeah, I mean, even though this game is absolutely packed with content, it was actually rushed out to meet the 2002 holiday season. But you never, because you never would have guessed that. But yeah, there was meant to be at least 2 dungeons, but they had to cut them. That's probably why you're just given the final pearl from.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Or a dungeon.
Yeah, I was going to say that because it is kind of odd how it's just given to you. But I mean, that's not something I ever questioned when I first played the game. I just took it for what it was. So, but I think the way I got Wind Waker was I saw it when I first got a GameCube on the shelf, and I thought it looked really cool, and I wanted to get it. And then it wasn't too long after that. It was still when Game Station was a thing. You
I
might not
remember
know what is Espyo, but
that's actually where I got the game from. That's where I got Wind Waker from.
Yeah, that's where I ended up getting Wind Waker from as well, because there was only one copy on the shelf for ages, and no one bought it. And then I come in one day and was like, I'm Fat B, give me Wind Waker. And the guy was like, here you go, take 5 of them. What was that, Gavin?
Well, you were Fat B even back then.
Even back then.
Well, I guess people really don't change.
But no, it was one of my favorite games at the time in the series. But now, I still really do enjoy it, but it's definitely been eclipsed for me. But I do that design of Link and the way the world looks, like we were saying about Link to the Past. In terms of 3D gaming, this is one of the best looking 3D games from that era. And I don't think it will ever age, especially with the HD remake.
Yeah, it's it's common knowledge that cartoony graphics age better than realistic ones, which we'll get to when we talk about Twilight Princess. But
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and also it's like this version of Link is pretty much his own character. People call him Toon Link now.
He's got personality.
Yeah, he has personality.
He has personality.
One of my favorite bits from the game is when when they fling him into the Forsaken Fortress in the barrel.
Yeah.
I love that.
Never forgot that.
Like that would not have worked as well in a realistic setting.
No, definitely not. No.
But did anybody use the Tingle Tuner in this game?
I was going to mention the Tingle Tuner. I never did. No.
Because it was.
Can you even without a Game Boy Advance?
No.
Oh, there you go then. No.
Like a dolphin, I don't know, but that's how you found the Tingle statues.
It's funny you say that. Sorry to interrupt you, Gavin, but you know about the Game Boy Advance link cable? Because I don't know if I've told you guys before, but I did actually get one of those because I learned, I think I had Pokemon XD or Colosseum at the time, and I learned that you could transfer your Pokemon to the GameCube games via your Game Boy Advance games. And I was like, how do I do that? So I had to look up and I was like, oh, these Game Boy Advance GameCube link cables. Where can I get one of those? And we couldn't find one. So my dad ended up emailing Nintendo and asking them where we could find one. And they didn't respond. They just sent one to our house. I think they must have responded to get our details, but they just said, oh, could you let us know your address? And they just sent us one for free. I was like, oh my god, that's amazing.
That's quite amazing.
But yeah, carry on, sorry, Gavin. That's how I got my GameCube link cable.
Yeah, like the Tingle Tuner, like you had items that you could use on it, but they cost you rupees. Like you had the Tingle Bomb, you could actually use bombs before you actually got bombs in a proper game. You had to pay 10 rupees for each bomb.
I'm seeing you use it in your Let's Play, right?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, I thought so.
Because of the Tingle statues, because each dungeon, except for the Forsaken Fortress, has a hidden Tingle statue that can only be found using the Tingle Tuner and a Tingle Bomb. When you found one, it would appear on Tingle Island, and you would get rupees as a reward for finding them. When you found them all, you got 500 rupees, so it's actually worth finding them.
I guess definitely in the original game, it's definitely a help towards the Triforce chat.
Oh, the Triforce Shard Hunt. Oh, that's how you know the game was rushed, though, because that's just padding. I mean, I didn't mind it as much because, again, exploring the Great Sea. Why?
Not again.
That's okay. Tom's gone.
Okay.
He's back. Carry on.
Scare us.
You all went quiet for some reason.
To get them all deciphered, you had to pay him like over 3,000 rupees.
Do you want to say that again, Gavin? I think you cut out for a moment.
I'm sorry. Okay, look. Yeah, the Triforce Shard Hunt sucked. Yeah, I mean, I didn't mind it as much because, again, you're exploring the Great Sea, but what I hated was the fact that you have to pay Tingle over 3,000 rupees to decipher those Triforce shards.
It's a bit much.
A giant in-game paywall. I mean, the game blurred you with rupees, but it still sucked.
Yeah.
That was a lot but then again, after playing Tingle's game, Rosy Rupee Land, I can understand why he's so greedy, because without rupees, he literally dies.
Oh.
Yeah.
So that's his problem, not Link's.
Did you want to just make a little comment on the Nintendo Gallery, Gavin? Because that was a fun little side quest.
Yeah, that was a side quest that you pretty much complete over the course of the game, assuming you got the deluxe picture box as early as you could. Because
is it in the remake, that quest?
Yes, it is, but it's a lot better there. We'll get to that later, but the Nintendo Gallery in the original sucks because some figurines... Okay, to explain it, it's a gallery, right? of figurines of every single character and enemy and boss in the game. You have to take a picture of them with the deluxe picture box, which means it has to be in color, otherwise it won't be accepted. Some of these are missable, like the bosses. There's also a random There's also a random NPC on Dragon Roost Island who just vanishes for no reason once Medley goes with you to the Earth Temple. It was a pain in the ass.
Actually, if I'm not mistaken, there are actually some things you cannot... I mean, you cannot complete it on your first playthrough because you just can't...
That is a common misconception. It's actually possible to do it on the first playthrough. Because you rematch the first two bosses at the end of the game, and even though the whole area is monochrome, it still counts since it's taken with the deluxe picture box.
Yeah.
And the worst part is, though, you could only have one figurine made a day in game. So you had to leave the gallery, play the Song of Passing twice to pass a full day, and then there's your figurine. And then you had to repeat that for like about 130 times for every figurine in the game. And you actually did get a reward if you completed it. You got one last figurine of Link and the King of Red Lions. Also,
the one that tells you he's left-handed. That blew my mind.
Yeah, he basically ends up inheriting the gallery from the sculptor. I forgot his name, but he goes away, and then Link ends up being the owner, basically. I mean, it is a lot easier to do it because the game has a New Game Plus where you don't get the green tunic. You start off with the Outset Island gear, and you actually start off with the deluxe picture box in your inventory from the very beginning. So it is easier to do on the second playthrough, but it's not the only way. You can do it on the first playthrough.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, Wind Waker, I think we can all agree was pretty good. Definitely, I don't think it was a big turning point in the series. I think it was just a continuation of like how good things were going for it. And actually, I think it was before Wind Waker, right, that the collector's edition came out.
No, that was after.
It was after, was it? Okay.
Yeah.
And that was with I didn't realize it had Zelda 1 and 2 in it. I thought it had the Ocarina of Time Majora's Mask.
Are we not going to talk about Master Quest real quick?
You could quickly gloss over it. It was like a harder version of Ocarina of Time, right? That was mirrored.
Yeah, no, that was the 3DS version. The Child Dungeons got it better. Gavin's played backwards. Jabu Jabu is a mindfuck.
That's a mindfuck for you anyway.
Why are there cows in the walls? Why do they act as switches? Why is one of them drowning? Like, were they on acid when they made Master Quest?
I think they probably were, to be honest. Like, I reckon that it was. I reckon they had an Espyo in the room. It was just like, let's just go mental and put strange stuff everywhere.
The adult dungeons is where it's more hit or miss because there is an over reliance on the Door of Time blocks. They're all over the place in Master Quest. Like, some gold sculptures are hidden behind them, which means a lot of unnecessary backtracking in the Child Dungeons. Also, the Spirit Temple. Oh my god, I hate the Spirit Temple in Master Quest. And it's for one simple reason. That stupid small key chest.
I can't comment. I've never played the Master Quest version.
Okay, so
pretty much.
Spirit Temple in regular Ocarina of Time, best dungeon in the game. But in Master Quest, it's probably the worst dungeon because it has a lot of really annoying crate puzzles. There's this one puzzle where, as adult Link, you have to backtrack through the child section just to hit this one rusted switch with the hammer. It makes a small key treasure chest appear back in the child section. So you know what you gotta do?
Oh my god.
You gotta go back to the Temple of Time, become a kid again, go back to the Spirit Temple, pick up that small key, go back to the Temple of Time again, become an adult again, go back to the Spirit Temple, and then continue on with the dungeon.
Sounds like it's more like just it's trying to make it harder for you to complete in a day, not necessarily harder overall.
Yeah. Also, there's a lot of hit this random thing in the wall to solve puzzles. That's something that the adult dungeons do a lot that I wasn't a fan of. Like, it felt like they ran out of ideas to actually make the dungeons harder. Like, the Water Temple was actually made easier in Master Quest. Did
they not have the Master Quest version of Ocarina of Time in the Collector's Edition?
No, they didn't.
Okay, because anyway, this Collector's Edition was like a 15-year anniversary or something?
No, but real quick, fun fact for you guys: the version of Ocarina of Time on the GameCube, the ending credits is actually a video file, and it takes up like 1/3 of the entire disc. It's like a 400 megabyte movie. It's because there was an emulation problem because at the very end of the credits, the screen goes sepia. The emulator couldn't replicate that; it just goes black and white. So, what they did was they recorded the entire credit sequence and made it a 400 megabyte video file that plays at the end of the game. The funny thing is,
Nintendo didn't try and fight emulation so much and tried like actually learning what it is.
Yeah, but the funny thing, yeah, I know. But the funny thing is, you can actually like Wong warp with glitches to the actual in-game credits, and it will play as normal, except at the very end of the game when it has to do that sepia effect on the screen. It just goes. It's just a black screen with the end on it.
Well,
that's the only reason for a video file. Like they couldn't leave it until like that very end. But no, the entire credits is a video.
Well, they kind of messed up Majora's Mask in the collector's edition as well, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. Well,
I never played that version, but
credit where credit is due. Zelda 1, 2, and Ocarina of Time are emulated very well. Like Zelda 1 was actually retranslated, so it's a lot less Englishy.
Oh, that's like part of the charm.
And of course, it had the Wind Waker demo, which I'm pretty sure is just a full game. Let's be real. Like a random cheat code could probably unlock the full game for you.
Yeah, if the whole file is on there, if the whole game files are in there.
Yeah, but yeah, Majora's Mask. I feel so ashamed because that was my introduction to Majora's Mask and Zelda 1 and 2 by extension. But the Majora's Mask emulation was very rocky. Like it was clear that the expansion pack necessity made it very janky because there were graphical glitches. The music would like freak out at times. The game would slow down and it would crash randomly. It was rare, but when it crashed, it absolutely sucked because of the quick play feature that the owl statues gave you. It was awful. My game crashed when I was in Sakon's hideout trying to get the Sun's Mask back for Anju and Cafe.
Oh no!
The worst place for it to crash.
Yep.
That's a big shame.
Now, real quick, the only reason I got the collector's edition because you could only get it with a new GameCube because the GameCube actually had a price cut back then because it just wasn't selling. My old GameCube broke. I was randomly. No, my original GameCube.
Okay, I thought like saying it got breaking.
Because around the time that I got Wind Waker, whenever I'd play a game, it would randomly throw up an error has occurred message. So I had to get a second GameCube, which I thankfully did, and it came with collector's edition.
And that is the way that the Gavin love for Majora's Mask was born.
Well, it was a rocky start, but at least I got there in the end.
Yeah.
And then I ended up getting it on the Wii Virtual Console, so I could play it properly with a lot less crashing.
I've only ever seen the collector's edition in my local CEX. It's gone up in price now though, because I was going to pick it up at one point just to like have it in the collection. But now it's I think it's going for around £50+ now.
Well, GameCube collecting has gotten very expensive in recent times. Just look how much Kirby Air Ride and Pokemon XD go for.
Yeah, they're all over the £100 mark right now.
And of course, Fire Emblem is a £200 game now.
Yeah. Speaking of GameCube, actually, and this is a expensive game now as well. Is Four Souls Adventures.
Well, there's a reason for that. This game is the lowest selling game in the series. It didn't even sell like 1 million copies. It's so
I wonder why. It's almost like you needed 10 million things to get it to work.
Yeah, I know, but at the same time, even though this game is a bit convoluted to play with multiplayer, I think it's worth it because it's a hell of a good time. Like, does anybody watch the One Array guys?
I've seen their playthrough of it, yeah.
Yeah, when they started, I wanted them. I was hoping they would let's play Four Souls Adventures, and they ended up doing so a few years after they made the channel. And that playthrough was an absolute riot.
Well, me, you, and Tom played it, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
And we had quite a bit of fun with it.
Like,
I know we played. We've actually got a recording on Gavin's channel of us playing through. Which bit did we play through? It wasn't the main game. It was the.
It was the Shadow Battle mode. It was just like,
that was it. Yeah.
It was a deathmatch mode.
We recorded that one, but we did actually play through the main game.
Yeah, we didn't have time for that. But,
yeah.
It's a good time if you can get people.
It is a very fun game, yeah.
Yeah,
it's just a shame it's so it's so gatekeepery. Like there's so much you have to do to make it work.
You need a GBA for every player. You need a link cable to connect to the GameCube with every player. Like the way the Runaway guys recorded it, like Steven Vlogs actually recorded a vlog of it. There's just cables all over the place because they have 4 GameCubes with a Game Boy player attached. They each have their own screen for their own GBA.
Oh, really?
Screen. Yeah, and that's how they recorded their game. That's how they recorded it.
Jesus.
It was a mess. Also, the Japanese and Korean version has an exclusive game mode called Nav Trackers.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Like, I had no idea why this was removed from international releases because they were working on localizing it. Because there was a demo at E3 that was in English, but they took it out of the final game. It's a scavenger hunt of sorts involving Tetris Pirate Crew. It's actually, from what I understand, inspired by a Satellaview game called Marvelous that was actually Eiji Aonuma's very first game.
I love how like all these GameCube, Game Boy Advance games have like such wacky features to them.
They really
like add-ons or it's just a bit strange to be honest. That's like when you remember that Nintendo's a toy company, like when they do crap like that.
That's true.
They did start off as a toy company, well, a card company, but then they made toys in like the 60s.
Yeah,
Safe to say they come a long way.
So next up is actually one of my favorite games in the series, and I think one of the most underrated games, and that's the Minish Cap.
Yes, this is sad. The Minish Cap to this day continues to be overlooked, and that makes me sad because I like this game a lot. I do. I mean, it made Barty an actual good character.
What did you think of it, Tom? Because have you played Minish Cap?
I've played it on the Ambassador program.
Oh, the Ambassador program. Yes, I remember. Remember all too well.
But, yeah, it's good. It makes good use of the world. And
you sound like you're half impressed there.
It's
alright. Yeah, I fucking hate it really, but it's alright.
If you think your enthusiasm any more than that, you're gonna turn into a literal plank of wood, Tom.
Some of it's cool, the puzzles and shit.
I think that you know like the fact you can go like mini and well, it's not really giant, is it? But I think that's a really cool mechanic.
Yeah.
Did you play Espyo?
Nope, it's still in my backlog actually.
Yeah, it's a good game. I do recommend it, especially because obviously I don't think you got the 3DS Ambassador program, did you?
No, he got his 3DS like later, like when Smash 3DS came.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Because I played Minish Cap because a friend I had owned the game. He actually he found it on an aeroplane, I believe. They found it on an airplane.
Amazing.
And he let me borrow it for a while. And I finished it, gave him it back, and I loved it. And then I ended up getting the Ambassador program, and that's the biggest reason why I'm glad I got the Ambassador program is because I got to play Minish Cap again, or own it in some capacity. It's just a shame that the Ambassador program one was I think it was the PAL release.
Yeah.
Which is really buggy.
It was based on an earlier build because Nintendo of Europe wanted to push the game out for 2004 holiday season. Like, because we did get the DS at that point, but America did. So America actually chose to delay the game until January 2005, just so it wouldn't overshadow the DS.
That's a late Game Boy Advance game, that.
Yeah.
I forget the DS came out that early in other places. But did you enjoy Minish Cap, Gavin? I know you said it's underrated, but...
Yeah, I really liked it. Like, for a GBA game, it almost feels like it has like the same quality as a console 3D game because it's so well polished, just so well put together. Even though the main game is very short, there's a lot of side quests like with the Kinstone fusion and whatnot, and also it fleshed out Vati because I felt like Vati was just a forgettable villain in the Four Swords game.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite villains now.
Yeah. Vati for Smash, just saying. But anyway.
Oh, I love him, yeah.
Yeah, he was more fleshed out. He actually had a backstory. There's also the backstory of the Four Sword itself. And this game was made by Capcom, just to point that out. And I just want to say, this is one of the best soundtracks in any GBA game. I freaking love the music. I just wish it wasn't in mono.
This is the Dark Hyrule Castle theme in this game is the one that I absolutely adore.
Yeah.
Like, it's the best rendition of that theme, I think.
Also, shout outs to Cloud Top's theme and the theme for the Palace of Winds.
Yeah. Oh my god, I'm gonna after this podcast, I'm off to listen to the Minish Cap soundtrack again.
Yeah, you better put that music in this video when you edit it.
I will. There's loads of good music in that game.
All right, so Twilight Princess.
Yes,
this game was so hyped, wasn't it?
Oh my god, it's like one of the best E3 reactions of all time.
Yeah, the audience went nuts, and you know why? Because this is what a lot of people wanted. They wanted a more mature, realistic looking Zelda game, and they got it.
Yeah.
And yet, for some reason, this game is still divisive, even though it's like this is what people wanted. Why do you hate it now? You wanted this. You wanted
Not so
Lord of
much
the
hate, I
Rings.
don't think.
What did you think of it, Espio? Because obviously you liked Ocarina of Time, and a lot of people say this is like Ocarina of Time 2.
Right. I actually think between this and the Wind Waker, I prefer the Wind Waker. I think I just have an innate leaning towards more cartoonish styles, so
Yeah.
I would take the cake. But as for Twilight Princess proper, it feels like a bit of a weird mixture between an experimental, weird game about just exploration of different personalities, like actual game personalities and all, and also a mixture between an actual game that knows what it's doing, like a proper solid adventure, just standard. This weird mix causes a bit of cognitive dissonance when you're playing, and it really gives a bit of an otherworldly vibe when you play it. It's like, oh yeah, everything about this game is familiar, it's just Zelda, but at the same time, it's like, it's weird. I don't feel very comfortable with this, and that part, and this part. It's weird.
Doesn't feel quite right.
Which isn't a bad thing. It really gives the game quite a lot of life that it otherwise wouldn't see. Not that it needed it.
Twilight theme, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, that's really the most bizarre part. Like, yes, the entire like aesthetic of the game is about part of it is about the Twilight and just regular Hyrule, but you can actually feel it just in the way that the game presents itself.
Yeah,
so bizarre.
Did you feel similar to that, Tom? Sorry, did you feel something?
No, not quite. Just wrapping it up, really.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But yeah, sorry, carry on, Tom.
Yeah. I thought,
oh my god, he hates Zelda! Yeah. He hates Zelda!
I like Zelda, guys.
Yeah, I really like Twilight Princess.
Yeah, it was alright.
I think the dungeons are some of the best things in Zelda history.
Oh yeah, the dungeons I think are the most creative and imaginative in the entire series.
I like the one with the dinosaur.
The dinosaur.
I thought you should say you like the one with the claw grip.
What's the dinosaur, Tom? Wait, do you mean Star-Lord?
Where you get the
Think, Tom, think. Yeah, that is Star-Lord.
Star-Lord from Marvel?
Star-Lord. It's
okay.
Oh, people.
Sorry, carry on, Tom.
But yeah, I thought that was one of the best dungeons in the game. And like I said, the claw grips you got.
No!
They were good.
Oh my god! Tom, focus! They're not claw grips. Claw grip is that enemy in Super Mario Bros. 2. It's not a Zelda item.
What was it? Was it claw? It was claw shot, wasn't it? I'm not being silly.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Claw shot.
That's what some of the dungeons were like. Really, just like flat out cool. Like that was just cool to use. Like I think it's when you first get that item and you have to quickly claw shot your way up those falling pillars. That's really cool. Honestly, my two favorite dungeons in the game and some in the series are is it the Temple of Time where you get them? The Temple of Time.
The Temple of Time had the Dominion Rod.
Oh no, what am I? Yeah, that's the one. Where'd you get the claw shots then?
The City in the Sky. Well, that's
City in the Sky. That's
where you get the second one from, because you actually found one earlier in the Lake Bed Temple. You find the second one in the City in the Sky.
So City in the Sky and the hut, the mansion that you find in the
Snow Peak Ruins.
Snow Peak Ruins. Those two are my favourite because I love how different those dungeons feel to any other Zelda dungeon.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
And I actually don't mind the wolf mechanic either. I will admit, like once you get past having to do those areas again and get those tiers, the game does get better. Don't get me wrong, but I didn't mind it too much.
I enjoyed getting the tiers.
Yeah. They were a lot better than the way Skyward Sword did that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'll just say that.
Ironically, I prefer Skyward Sword's tier collection than this game.
Oh, really?
And I don't know why.
What did you think of Twilight Princess overall, Gavin?
Well, I do know this. Waiting to play the game was painful.
Oh.
Because it took forever to come out, didn't it?
Nice.
So it was announced back at E3 2004, and the crowd blew up. Yeah. And it didn't come out until like 2.5 years later because they wanted to move it to the Wii as well. I didn't even get my Wii on launch, but I got a copy of Twilight Princess like 1 week after the Wii launched. I didn't get my Wii until like April of the following year. So
wow.
I was stuck with a copy of Twilight Princess on the Wii for like 5 months before I could play it. Even though I could have just wait for the GameCube version, but I was like, no, I want the new hardware. I want to play this new exciting game on the new system.
Wow.
What console did you guys actually play it on? Because I played it on the Wii. Gavin played it on the Wii. What were you two guys?
That's another Wii for me.
Wii for me.
Yeah.
Oh, so we're all
there we go, then.
yeah, okay, we're all Wii players.
No spin attack.
I mean, the funny thing is, the GameCube version is like objectively better because it doesn't have the forced waggle controls for the sword.
How did you in the GameCube release? How did you run and swing at the same time? Did you just press B or whatever?
Yeah, you just swing.
Okay, that's actually it's like such a simple mechanic, but it was one that was sorely missed from future Zelda games.
Yeah, plus the GameCube version actually had a bit more polish since it came out later because the original Wii version had a bug in it with the sky cannon.
Oh,
you could soft lock forever.
Oh yes, I've heard about this. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
that's what causes the channel to exist.
No, you're thinking about Skyward Sword, Mac.
But
that's not all though, because the Wii version was so heavily rushed that they actually left a debugging feature in the game by accident.
Oh my god! How much version you got?
The Cave of Ordeals. It's that gauntlet in Gerudo Desert. If you put out the torches with the Gale Boomerang, you could just skip to the next floor. You don't have to kill the enemies. That was a debugging feature that they left in the Wii version. In the original Wii version. Not only that, but there was also green chew jelly that was in the Wii version. That was also left in by mistake because it does nothing.
Wow.
But anyway, Twilight Princess is definitely a really standout game because it has like this sense of scope that no other game has. Like, this was at a time when Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings was like the biggest thing ever, and a lot of people were trying to copy it.
I agree, yeah.
And it was also like the dark and edgy era, I'd say.
Yes.
It's definitely got some Tolkien influences for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Honestly, it's like my favorite it's my second favorite Zelda game. Sorry, Twilight Princess. I love it to pieces.
Yeah, it's also once again a really big game. Like, it's a very long game, but it's a good kind of long. Like, it doesn't overstay its welcome. Like,
no, it doesn't feel.
Sword.
I don't think it feels bloated in the same way Skyward Sword did.
Yeah, even though it has 9 full dungeons in it.
Yeah.
Which again, like I said, I think are some of the most imaginative in the franchise because the forest tempo, it's fine. The Goron mines, you get to walk upside down with the iron boots.
Yeah, you got those magnet boots, what have you?
Along with a lot of clang, 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 clang. The lake bed tempo is a slightly worse water tempo. the Arbiter's Grounds.
I really don't like the lake bed tempo. I will say that. I'm not a fan of that tempo at all.
The Arbiter's Grounds gives me very serious Indiana Jones and the Mummy vibes, and it's actually a very creepy dungeon.
Is anyone else like? People go mad for that dungeon. They fucking love it. They eat that shit up. The Arbiter's Grounds.
Fucking good.
Because atmosphere.
Is that the one where you get the spinner?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it also had the Star-Lord boss fight.
The dinosaur.
The Snow Peak Ruins was once again like a little shake-up of usual fauna because it was a house. It was a house that
it was
these
quite
Yetis
ingenious.
lived in. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one I really like.
Not take mirror.
Yeah, no, oh my god, that scared the living shit out of me. It absolutely scared the bejesus out of me. That.
Yeah, the Temple of Time was nice because when you actually enter the Temple of Time, you actually hear the exact same music as in Ocarina of Time, and then you actually create the stairway into the actual dungeon itself. You climb all the way up, you fight the Dark Knight up there, you get the Dominion Rod. You have to take control of the statue, bring it all the way back down to open the way to the boss. And what's the boss? A giant spider.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't really see why people say that the game is like Ocarina of Time 2.
It does
when
take
you
a
talk
bunch
about
of cues from it.
It does. It takes the same kind of structure, but like when you talk about it like we have, I just don't see how it's got so much to it that's all its own. Yeah. Especially like the Twilight Realm. Yeah. And Midna. Jesus, Midna. I'm sure we can all agree they're the best partner that Link's ever had.
She actually has character. She actually goes through a character arc.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's good stuff.
Anyway, the city in the sky has like this really surreal and otherworldly feel to it. It's just like unlike anything else up to that point. The part of Twilight, is just kind of there. Although the fight with Zant is really good. I kind of wish Zant got more time because he's just sidelined once Ganondorf hijacks the plot halfway through the game.
I think
the game would have been mostly fine without Ganondorf, but oh well. And then there's Hyrule Castle itself.
The thing with Zant is that once he loses his shit and goes all weird, that's like the point where you're like, holy shit, what's this guy about then? And then it's not long after that Ganon just sort of swoops in.
And then Midna pops Zant like a balloon.
Yeah. Oh, that was cool.
And then there was, of course, there was Hyrule Castle as well. Like Hyrule Castle felt like a really good climax.
Yeah,
because the music is ominous.
Yeah.
It's raining constantly outside, and when you get to the top, there's just a dark cloud swirling around the sky. You go up to the throne room, and there's Ganondorf waiting for you. Like, it was a great climax.
It was a great ending to that game. I will say the game got a lot of shit for being having a MIDI soundtrack instead of an orchestral one.
It really would have benefited from an orchestral soundtrack.
It would, but I don't think the MIDI sounded bad at all. Like, it's still got a really good soundtrack.
It's still really good, yeah. But again, just imagine the possibilities of an orchestral soundtrack.
If only they did it for the remaster.
That's one of my biggest complaints with the remaster.
Yeah,
but we'll get to that later.
Yeah. So we'll kick off onto the DS system. This was, I believe, Zelda's first game on the system, which was Phantom Hourglass, right?
Yes.
So this was actually I think I said it before, but this is my first Zelda game that I remember getting.
You.
Well, I will admit that when I got the system, I was like, I was really impressed by how the game looks. I still think it looks really good for the DS.
Yes.
But yeah, I was very disappointed that it was all touchscreen controls and not traditional.
I didn't mind the touchscreen controls. They worked mostly fine for the most part.
Yeah, I got used to them, definitely.
Yeah, you just gotta get used to it.
What did you think of it, Tom? Because did you get Phantom Hourglass?
I got it later in the DS's life.
Did you play the sequel first?
No, I played Hourglass first.
Okay.
And I'm sure you'll remember the puzzle, but I struggled on the puzzle where you have to close your DS.
Yeah, I knew he was going to say that.
Oh dear.
Yeah,
there's a part in the game where you have you played Phantom Hourglass? Sorry, Espyo.
Nope, it's all spoilers for me.
Okay, so I'll try not to spoil any other puzzle really, but this one's the main one. You at some point you have your map and you have to copy something on this map you're seeing.
Oh wait, is it something about stamping?
Yeah, you have to close like on the top screen you've got the map you need to copy, and then on the bottom screen you've got your map, and you need to close the DS so it stamps it onto your map. And I remember getting stuck on that as well, Tom, and I was like, all right, I'm just gonna get something to eat. So I put my DS, closed my DS, go get something to eat, come back, opened it up, and I was like, oh, it's done. Did I do it?
I see. Remember. I have to wait for an entire hour to get it done. I see.
Yeah.
No.
Did you guys have to look that up, or did you?
I figured it out on my own. I just put two and two together because it's like, the top screen and touch screen look different. Maybe they look very similar. Maybe I just have to close the DS because I got to transfer that icon to my own app, and I just put it together. It's like, oh, okay, just close the DS and it was done.
All right, Miyamoto.
I will say that is something that Phantom Hourglass did quite a bit, but mainly newer DS games, I suppose, is that they used stuff like that, quirky stuff like that in their games. Like they also used the microphone quite a bit.
Yeah, Hotel Dusk definitely comes to mind.
Yeah. But overall, I thought Phantom Hourglass was really fun. I actually don't know if I like it more than the Spirit Tracks. I think Spirit Tracks, the sequel, which we'll talk about in a minute, trimmed some stuff down for the better. But they both had this dungeon where you have to consistently go back to it and unlock more stuff in this one dungeon, which made and that dungeon has a really specific gimmick about the phantoms, Espio, don't you?
More or less, yes.
Yeah, so it's to do with the phantoms, and I don't know, it gets a bit tiresome, I think, going back to that same dungeon. That was actually the part of the game I didn't like them. It was my least liked part of the game.
Nobody liked it.
Yeah. Was you the same, Tom?
It was. It took the piss. Yeah, I hated it.
I thought you just say it was all right. Nah, it took the piss.
It took the piss.
That's fair.
What did you think of Phantom Hourglass overall, Gavin?
Unpopular opinion incoming.
Oh no.
But I think this is one of the weaker games in the series. It's not a bad game. It's not a bad game. Like, there's still a lot of really clever design and puzzles in it, but at the same time, there are some things I really don't like. Like, I'm sorry, but this game's soundtrack sucks.
I don't remember much of the soundtrack, I'll be honest.
That's why, because there isn't much of it.
Yeah.
The thing is, there are some really good songs. Yes, like the Great Sea theme is really great. Linebeck's theme's good. The boss themes are great. But at the same time, there's a severe lack of variety. Like, every single dungeon in the game uses that same 30-second loop, and it gets incredibly repetitive.
It uses the same theme in caves, right, as well?
The cave has its own theme, and that's a 5-second loop.
Ah, right, yeah.
Like,
no, I remember the cave theme. That burns into your brain.
Yeah, and also, like, the field theme is also the same, like, 20-second loop over and over again. Like, the soundtrack just lacks variety, and that's why I don't like it very much.
I love Linebeck, though. That is a character.
Yeah, Linebeck's a great character. Like, he's a dick, but he's a lovable dick. And also,
definitely.
when you first meet him, that's a very funny scene.
Yeah.
I look forward to it.
Yeah, I don't like the Temple of the Ocean King because you got to go through it like 4 or 5 times. You have to play through the same levels multiple times. You do open up shortcuts with the new items that you find, but other than that, you still have to play through it multiple times. You do open up a checkpoint like halfway through the game, so you can skip the first half of it, but you still got to replay the second half.
I think there's that dungeon as well. Like, if you mess up on it, you usually have to like start the floor again.
Yeah, because you had a time limit too, because of the Phantom Hourglass was protecting you from the curse that would drain your life away. If time ran out, then you were absolutely screwed.
The worst bit is as well is that if you get the checkpoint when the hourglass is like at a certain volume, it doesn't refill or anything. It keeps the same amount, doesn't it?
No, you had to sacrifice some time if you wanted to. You go back to the midway point.
Yeah. So it still, you were being penalised for it still, which was crappy.
Kind of, yeah. But it was actually the amount of time it took actually depended on how fast you went through the first half when you set up the checkpoint.
Yeah.
Also, this game had multiplayer. Anyone remember that?
I do not remember the multiplayer.
Okay, it was a 1v1. There were 3 rounds. Each player would take turns controlling Link and then a bunch of phantoms. As Link, you had to collect Force gems and put them in your base.
Oh no! Actually, I do remember this. Yeah.
The thing is, it was very unbalanced, I felt, because it was very one-sided in one player or the other's favor.
It's a funny thing because I feel like that was still in the time where games still put multiplayer in their games just to have multiplayer there, not necessarily because it was something they thought would be like legitimately good.
Right.
I mean, I enjoyed the multiplayer, even though it could get very one-sided, but
yeah,
it had online as well, if you could believe that.
Yeah, that was one of the first ones to Zelda games to have online, I think.
Yeah, me too.
But we can move on to Spirit Tracks, because that was like, I feel like this was the more improved one.
This is much better.
Yeah. I don't know, I feel like the train riding was fun, but I don't feel like it gave you the same sense of atmosphere as like the Great Sea did. I might be alone on that, but I did like it, but I preferred the sea atmosphere, I think.
Yeah. I hope you like escort missions, because that's like 90% of all the side quests in this game.
Yeah.
Because you either have to escort a character, like a passenger, to another place, or you had to escort cargo. And if it was a passenger, you had to keep them happy by following the signs on the railroad, which you can totally ignore on your own. But when you escort somebody, you have to follow those signs. Like, if it tells you to blow your whistle, you gotta blow your whistle, otherwise the passenger gets upset with you. And if you upset them too many times, they just bail.
Do you imagine that happen in real life? Like, you're on like First Penina Express or whatever, Trans-Penina Express, and you're just like, I'm unhappy, and then they have to do everything you say.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of Crazy Taxi, because in that game you have to escort somebody under a time limit, and if you don't make it in time, they just say sod it and get out your car.
Yeah.
I'm not paying. This should be kind of like if anyone remembers, I think it's Spider-Man 2, and it's at the start of the film where he brings her that pizza, and he's like 2 seconds late, and she's like, I'm not paying for those. It's kind of like, it reminds me of that.
What I gathered from Spirit Tracks so far is it's just a meme. It's not really a game.
Oh, there's definitely a lot of memes to come from it. Gavin made a few.
Oh dear.
Bombs, you want them?
Oh. Those damn dark trains.
What? By the way, just remind me, because Spirit Tracks had a dungeon where you had to keep going back to it. It was the Spirit Tower or something, wasn't it?
It was the Tower of Spirits, yeah, but it was
That
much
was it.
better. It was much better than the Temple of the Ocean King because you didn't have to replay sections of it because the idea is every dungeon that you complete actually unlocks a new section of the tower. You just go up a spiral staircase to the section you want to play.
I think
that is so much better.
A big part of it as well is the fact that one of the main mechanics of this game is having Zelda possess phantoms.
Yeah, because
and that opens some really cool puzzles.
Yeah, she travels with you the whole game because, well, her spirit and her body got separated because her body is needed to resurrect Malladus. And no, this isn't spoilers because this is all revealed in the first hour, Espyo, so don't
Right,
cry.
I figured. I know. I figured.
I think it's still scared from... What game was it last time where... Oh, it was Oracle of Ages or something, wasn't it?
Yeah.
we just talked about all the puzzles and was like, did you play as Espyo? And Espyo was like, no, I wanted to not really be spoiled. It's like, oh, okay. Never mind.
We did it anyway.
But this was a big deal at the time because I think this was one of the first games in the main series anyway where Zelda was with you for the whole adventure. She wasn't really a background character.
Yeah.
Unless you count Tetra, but she wasn't Zelda for half the game.
Kind of her own character. Really.
Yeah. What did you think of Spirit Tracks compared to Phantom Hourglass, Tom?
I thought it was a huge improvement.
Yeah.
I thought the items were really cool.
Yeah.
It actually came out on my birthday.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, it did.
That's nice.
Yeah.
You just reminded me there. Sorry to interrupt you, Tom. Just the. Do you remember the pan flute?
Yeah.
That was something that the microphone used.
Yeah.
It was a bit iffy that.
Yeah, you gotta get used to it because you gotta play a tune on it every time you want to enter a dungeon.
I see.
Yeah, and you also need it during the final battle, and that's where it's at its worst because it's so fiddly.
I think it's like whenever you take the stylus off the screen and then touch the screen again, it doesn't keep the pan flute where it was when you left the screen. It
recenters.
Yeah, and it just messes. And because you got to be in sync with you blowing into the microphone, it gets a bit messy.
I mean, at least it lets you practice before you do the real thing each time.
Yeah. I would say, were you saying about the bad soundtrack in Phantom Hourglass, though? To be honest, I can't really remember many tunes in Spirit Tracks either.
I will tell you this, it's a lot better because there's more variety. Like, the songs are also just way better composed, there's a lot less repetition. Like, there's more dungeon themes. Almost every location in the game has its own theme song. There's just a lot more to it. Yeah, it's just more fleshed out. And oh my god, I love Spirit Tracks' soundtrack, especially the Overworld theme.
Yeah, no, I do remember the Overworld
theme because of now it's in Smash, and there's also a stage for Spirit Tracks in the game.
Yeah, I actually really like the stage for Spirit Tracks in Smash as well. Yeah. It's like crazy, but it's crazy good.
They even got the dark trains in there.
Yeah. So we'll move on to Skyward Sword for the Wii. This was the next big Zelda release after Twilight Princess. It was the next big 3D Zelda release, and this, I hope you don't mind me saying what I think just first off, just to set the ball rolling. When this game first came out, people were praising it as like the second coming of Christ. It was getting 10 out of 10s from everyone. Everyone was saying it was amazing and how much they loved it. Apart from a few who said the motion controls were a bit iffy. I was like, how on earth is this game getting 10 out of 10s? I think it's a really good game, probably like a 7 or 8, but not a 10, Jesus. And then as the years went on, maybe not too long after it came out, everyone started giving this game a lot of shit and saying it was one of the worst Zelda games that has ever come out. And I was like, look, no, it's not 10 out of 10s and it's not shit. It's just really good. Like, it's in between. It's no one way or the other. Like, I was very much balanced. I was very much in the middle of the scale. But I enjoyed Skyward Sword. I just thought it was a bit too linear. But what do you guys think? I guess we'll start with you, Espyo.
Right. So while Spirit Tracks may have come out on Tom's birthday, Skyward Sword actually came out on my birthday, or just probably 1 or 2 days before. It was also one of the very first games that I purchased on the actual day. Like, until then, I just purchased like used games and games that came out several years before. But Skyward Sword was actually the first one, and I actually bought the special edition, no less. I was really stoked.
I did too. Yeah,
me too.
everything about the advertising of the game, about how the motion controls are 1-to-1 and the adventure is spectacular and it's more open world, sort of in quotes, not really. It's just more open and free and whoa, look at this, and it's got a special edition. And yeah, I just had to try it. I was stoked.
You gave into the hype.
Yeah, the hype got you.
I mean, to be fair, this game was very heavily hyped.
Quite a lot. That was definitely at least a quarter of it. But let's see, I got to play it, and well, I got quite engrossed in the characters. I literally, and this is not an exaggeration, spent 1 hour inside Link's room just using first person and looking around.
Checking out all the detail.
Yeah, just soaking it all in.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the characters, I enjoyed the music, I enjoyed the settings. The plot was captivating. The motion controls worked when they worked. Yeah. And they were fun to use. The new mechanics were also a bit interesting because it's not really a staple of the Zelda games to like run and in a way having jumps as part of the mechanics, and Skyward Sword actually made some good use of that. All that combined really gave it an experience unlike any other that Zelda ever saw, making it one of the biggest steps forward in the franchise in one direction. I'm not quite sure which direction, the best one, the worst one, so-so, but it is a direction, and it is a big step. All that combined with the game focusing more on like feelings and storytelling and ambience rather than just a grandeur of a conquest of adventure and like you are the best person ever defeating the big bad, stuff like that made the game more how should I put this, heartfelt, which
I'll agree with that.
Ended up giving the game one of the spots in my heart reserved for, I don't know, probably the top 10 games of all time for me.
Very bold.
And this made me completely blind to its flaws. Perhaps I shall pass on over to Gavin, since I know he's steaming to talk about the game's many flaws.
Hello.
Every single
Take it away.
Well, I might as well now that the spotlight's on me. Okay, so I was actually very intrigued to hear what Espyo had to say because, you know, I think that's an unpopular opinion, but again, it's interesting to hear that. But anyway, I don't hate this game. I want to get that out there. I still really like this game. I just think it is the weakest 3D Zelda. There's a lot good in it. I'll start with the good stuff, okay? Because there's still lots there that I really like. So let's talk about the art style because it is absolutely incredible. It's distant objects use a filter that makes them look like an impressionist painting. Like it's actually a really clever way to mask the Wii's limitations. And
Nintendo was full of those tricks.
Yeah, everything just pops. Like this game is gorgeous. Like, could you imagine that in HD?
Yeah.
We're waiting.
I think that's why Breath of the Wild kind of it uses like a pseudo Skyward Sword art style, like not quite like it, but similar.
It's more Wind Waker like. No.
Yeah.
Anyway, I will actually defend the motion controls because in the past you just swung a sword and that was it, but now you have to actually think. Like the sword combat itself was more of a puzzle. You can't just flail your arm around and get results out of it because enemies will defend.
Zelda combat had been the same since Ocarina of Time until Skyward Sword.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I do think the motion controls were definitely excessive because you use it for almost everything. You use it for the sword. You use it to swim. You use it to control the Loftwing. Like it really reminded you that you were using Wii Motion Plus.
I was going to say that this is the game that like it was like so heavily telling you this is Wii Motion Plus, guys.
Yeah. Also, this was the first time that Zelda used an orchestrated soundtrack.
Oh my god,
course, it's amazing stuff.
It is amazing, yeah.
I actually really liked a lot of the characters in this game. Like Zelda's actually, this is my favorite version of Zelda character-wise because she actually goes through her own personal journey, just like Link, and she's actually really fleshed out because of it. Like there's this one scene near the end of the game, which I think is just really brilliant. It's where Link and Zelda are reunited at long last after such a long journey, and Zelda tells Link that she has to go into a 1,000-year sleep. That look on Link's face when she gets frozen is just heartbreaking.
Exactly, that's what I mean with focusing so much on feelings.
They were childhood friends, and you know, there's definitely like some romance going on between them.
That I would say, Skyward Sword and Spirit Tracks is the main Zelda games where the romance is laid on quite thick. Yeah. Quite thick, yeah. Well, thick for Zelda anyway.
Oh, that'll make the shippers happy. And of course, there was also Groose. Like, Groose is a really great character.
Honestly, there was so many good characters in Skyward Sword. Groose being like the highlight, I think.
Yeah, and of course, Girahim is a delightfully hammy villain.
Yeah. I think that was my talking about Girahim though. Sorry to interrupt you, Gavin. Just quickly, I just wanted to say that I actually don't mind the motion controls as well. It was I remember the first time that I was like, oh, actually, I don't think they should have made enemy encounters so heavily reliant on motion controls. And it was the first time you fight Girahim. With the first dungeon.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the point when I was like, because I think I was on that fight for ages, and I was like, I really wish they didn't do it like this. But yeah, carry on, Gavin. Sorry.
Yeah. What else did I like? Oh yeah, I actually really like the items. There's not many items, but they were a lot of fun to use. Like the beetle, the gust bellows, the claw shots came back. That should tell you how good the items are.
What, the claw grips? You mean?
I said claw shots. Shut up! We're not doing this again. I did not wait a week just to continue that. The dungeons were also very well thought out. Like everybody likes the ancient cistern. But,
my god, the dungeons! Yeah, they're amazing.
And some of the bosses too. Yeah, Collectos was an amazing boss. But also,
that was my favorite dungeon, I think, in the entire game. Is that the ancient cistern?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, that's the one with the Buddhist theme. Yeah.
What was you going to say, Tom? Sorry.
The sand ship was great too.
I was saying the imprisoned.
Oh yeah, that was a low point.
I'll get to that. We're trying to be positive this time. Okay?
We're being the people when the game first came out right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess that's really it for the stuff I liked. So, what did I like about this game? This game holds your hand like there's no tomorrow. There's a reason I keep making the joke that I want to wash my hand because Skyward Sword will not let go of it. Because you have Fi or Fi, however you pronounce the name. Like, I don't like her I like her design, but as a character, she's fucking boring. And she's holding your hand too much.
She's like if Navi was more chatty, I suppose. But the thing is, Navi, you can sort of put a personality onto her because she doesn't intrude. Like, she don't intrude in the way that Fi does. Like, Fi does it is like a massive paragraph, like your batteries are fucking low or whatever.
Yeah, why does she like she alerts you when your batteries are running low, she alerts you when your hearts are running low, she alerts you to every little thing. She just will not shut up. It's like and it doesn't stop there because the game has the Sheikah Stone from Ocarina of Time 3D, which is basically this game's super guide. It just straight up tells you, hey dumbass, this is how you solve this puzzle you've been stuck on. And there's even a fortune teller too. It's like, this is a game that is so afraid of the player getting stuck or failing on something that it is willing to nudge them in the right direction at any chance it gets. There's even the dowsing system. Like, the dowsing system I felt like was like literal railroading.
Yeah, it was
just
really
straight up. Yeah. It just straight up tells you, hey, this is where you need to go. Like, you can see this thing, like this big temple in the Lanero Desert, and you can see it for yourself way off in the distance. And Fi's like, oh, this is where you need to go. Use dowsing to see where it is. Like, I could figure that out on my own. Thank you.
I didn't mind the dowsing for side quests, like to find the blocks of what they're called. Those blocks you have to find.
The goddess cubes.
Right.
That's the one. Yeah. I didn't mind for those or like materials, because this game was like the first game to really like have the crafting feature in a way.
Yeah.
That to make shields and stuff.
But the dowsing system is fine for optional things, but to bake it into the main story like that, like literally railroad, that only adds to the game's linearity. Yeah,
that's different. Yeah.
And going back to characters, even though I like most of the characters, there are some characters I absolutely cannot stand. Like, Fi is one of them. Like,
of course,
Fi is one of them. Even though I don't want to hate her because she has a great design, but the way she holds your hand is too much. There's also Scrapper. I hate Scrapper. He's a.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I hate him.
I liked him.
I know a lot of people don't like Scrapper.
There's that stupid escort mission that you have to do with him halfway through the game, and I hated it so much. There's also Pharaon, the water dragon. Oh god, she's a bitch.
Yeah, I like her though. She's kind of snarky. Like, not many characters in that game are snarky.
She floods Pharaon Woods late into the game just because she didn't like all the monsters running around it. She could have killed off the Key Queen. What's wrong with her?
That's my main issue with Skyward Sword is just how you had to keep going back to the same areas over
padding,
and over again.
Yeah, this game had awful padding. Like
it feels like it's really bloated.
Yeah, like the game world itself is not that big, but you have to revisit the free surface areas multiple times. It makes the world feel so tiny and not fleshed out. Like that's another big problem I have with Skyward Sword is the padding and the way it's structured. Like
I think
sorry.
No, it's okay, Gavin. You can go ahead.
I feared that something was wrong when I had to go to Faron for the second time, and I first met Faron, the water dragon, and she asks me to go back to the Skyview Temple, the first dungeon in the game. I was like, please tell me this isn't going to be the rest of the game, and it turns out it was. Because you had to go back through the first dungeon. No other Zelda game has forced you to go back through a past dungeon, I don't think, except maybe A Link to the Past for Hyrule Castle, but that's like very brief. But
yeah.
It gets worse. It gets worse because of the goddamn Song of the Hero side mission.
Yeah.
You have to go back to every area a third time. Faron Woods is flooded. You have to find those stupid tadpoles, and it takes forever. You have to go back to Elden Volcano where all your stuff gets taken away, and you have to do a stealth mission. Although, to be fair, I actually like that part of the game because it actually felt fresh. Because that was one of the few times when the game wasn't holding your hand, because you had to actually think for yourself for once.
I like how you almost whispered that, like, oh no, I actually kind of like that bit. Like, I'm ashamed.
And then you go back to Lynx, you have to do this long, drawn-out escort mission with a time shift stone in a minecart, and even when you bring it to where it needs to go, you're still not done, because Lynx, the dragon, he's ill, so you have to get, like, this big plant, this big seedling, take it all the way back to the sealed grounds, go back to the past, plant it, come back to the present, get the fruit off it, feed it to Luneo. It's just, this game has such poor structure and way too much padding.
Isn't that quest with the Luneo Desert when you can fuck up the save file?
Yeah, there is a game-breaking glitch in this game, which I'll get to, but guess what? You find the 3 dragons, you get the Song of the Hero, you complete it, and guess what? It's still not enough! Because you have to do yet another goddamn Silent Realm!
Oh god, the Silent Realms.
How many times do you have to prove yourself to Hylia? Like, yes, isn't getting the Song of the Hero enough for her? But no, you have to go through another Silent Realm just so you can enter the Sky Keep to get the Triforce.
It's like, I want to save the world, but she's like, no.
Yeah, you know, now that I think about it, I don't like Hylia either because of what she makes Link go through.
Anyway, it was on about the sky. I was going to say that it's I thought it was going to be like the sea in Wind Waker, but it ended up just being really empty because it has a crap load of rocks and islands and stuff with not really not anything on them.
Yeah, it doesn't help that the Loftwing is so slow flying through it.
Yeah, I think like, it mainly became a home to the goddess cubes, didn't it?
It's where the chests, the chests at the
the rewards for the goddess cubes.
It's like there are some mini games. There is a Lumpy Pumpkin, which is like a side quest sequence.
It's like Windfall Island.
You break down the chandelier to get a piece of heart, and I thought that was so funny.
You break down the what?
The chandelier, because it's a piece of heart.
Yeah.
And the owner of the place chews you out, and you're forced to work for him. Yeah. And it's pretty much a side quest at every big event in the game. So like,
that's cool.
It lasted the whole game basically, and then at the very end, you were pretty much done, and he got a new chandelier that was a lot sturdier, and you couldn't bring it down.
Just before we move on to A Link Between Worlds, Tom, did you want to say anything about Skyward Sword? I don't think you've had your piece yet.
I think you've done really well. I didn't like the final dungeon. I thought it was a bit of shit.
I like the Sky Keep. I mean, the dungeon itself, I liked it personally because the dungeon itself is the puzzle. Like, I thought that was a bit clever.
What was you going to say, Tom?
I know Gavin hates it apparently, but I thought it was quite a nice touch that you went back to the first dungeon and you went through it again. I like that.
It was just padding to me.
I think what they could have done is it's kind of like, you know, in Majora's Mask, when you go back to the dungeon and it says, you just want to go straight to the boss. Like, they could have easily done that. They didn't have to make you go through the whole thing again.
Yeah.
The things have changed.
What? Yeah. Wait, what changed?
Oh, yeah, you got one new key to collect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, it's like an entirely new area.
It should have been a new area. That's the thing. It should have been a place you've already been. It's like, I hate to rag on Skyward Sword because if it didn't have all these flaws, I honestly think this would have been one of the best games in the series. Like, there is a masterpiece under all that. That is why I said I really hope this game gets remastered, because it gives them a chance to right the wrongs.
I didn't mind going back to like areas that much, but like I did with Far Eldin, but with the desert, I really liked the expanded part of that. Like, you know, where you end up going in the ship and on the rail tracks and stuff. Like, I really enjoyed that part.
And then you get to the mini game, and it's like incredibly strict if you want to win the prize from it.
Yeah, that one's a bit shit. Yeah.
I don't know, fellas, about the puzzles and the not the puzzles, the dungeons. I have a weird opinion about them. The thing that strikes out the most for me about Skyward Sword dungeons is how boring they are and linear, and how they started assigning the a downward spiral in quality about Zelda dungeons, because that was around the time when Nintendo very clearly was concerned about players getting stuck. So quite a few of Skyward Sword's dungeons are just, you go from A to B to C. You did it. There are no side branches. There's no backtracking. There are no possible multiple approaches on the same room. The same rooms don't require any sort of spatial reasoning to work out. You just do one puzzle in one room, go to the next, and that's it. But Skyward Sword is also known for having brilliant puzzles, like the whatchamacallit, the boat. Stones. Exactly. So this does put me in a bit of an awkward position. Why is it that I remember Skyward Sword as having awful puzzles and dungeons, when in reality that's not quite it? What is it about Skyward Sword that kind of muddied that?
It might be like great concepts, but not fantastic execution.
But I wonder if that really is it, because the ship is a fantastic execution and a fantastic concept. So is that really it?
I will say I didn't get stuck very often, so I do agree with you about it being, like, I guess simplified in a way, because, I mean, just because I didn't get stuck doesn't mean that it's not hard, but I didn't find it very brain taxing, I guess.
Well, the game will just tell you what to do anyway, so it's not like
that's true.
I suppose that the more linear dungeons really stuck with me and really left an awful taste, so much so that it made me blind to all the good dungeons.
Yeah.
That's really, in terms of game design, that's really something worth studying. Like, how a game can manage to do so great in terms of dungeon designs and also so poorly.
Yeah.
Tying in with all the rest of the linearity of the game.
I guess out of 10, how would you guys rate it? Like, because we all seem to have pretty different opinions. Like, I guess we'll start with you, Tom.
6.
6?
Yeah.
Okay. Espyo?
An 8, I would say.
An 8. I'd say an 8 as well. How about you, Gavin?
I'd say 8. It really could have been better, but...
yeah, it's still a good game.
Zelda's 25th anniversary really deserved better. Especially as the origin story to the entire series. Yeah,
that was cool, though. I did like I did like the story in Skyward Sword. It was one of those where I heard so many good things about the story before playing the game. I thought it was going to be like, okay, it's not just going to be another Zelda story, but it kind of is. Yeah. It is a well-told Zelda story, but it is like another Zelda story. So
because we already talked about Lord of the Rings, because we just talked about Twilight Princess.
So we'll move on to the 3DS, and I've got to say this next game is one of my absolute favourites in the series, and that's A Link Between Worlds.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah. This was a right breath of fresh air.
It was a banger, is what it was.
Oh, absolute banger, mate.
But this, like Gavin was just about to say, it's one of the most free-flowing Zeldas, because you pretty much get all the items at the start of the game, and you can sort of tackle things in whichever way you want.
I mean, it is just A Link to the Past again, but it's more like a reimagining. Like, the world isn't 100% the same. Like, the dungeons are pretty different, usually.
Story-wise, it's a sequel to Link to the Past, right?
It takes place about 100 years later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you play A Link Between Worlds, Espyo? Because I know you hadn't played many of the other handheld games.
No, but this one I did, yeah.
Oh, okay,
Did you beat it?
Absolutely, 100%, mate.
Oh, good, we can spoil it then.
Yeah. I've 100%ed the game about 3 times now.
Yeah.
I love it that much.
Did you get all the Street Pass achievements, though?
Oh, no, I probably didn't get those.
Yeah, and you didn't. Did you survive the max time in the Kuko minigame?
I did.
You think so, yeah.
Get you.
Yeah, actually, no, I lie. I did that once. I didn't go for that on subsequent playthroughs. I was like, no, once is enough for me.
You actually do get a reward for it. You just get a giant cocoa displayed outside the pen, and that's it.
Yeah, it's like that, literally bragging rights.
Yeah, I think you gotta survive what is it, about 15 minutes without getting hit once?
It's pretty ridiculous. I kind of like that though, because that's not something that I feel Nintendo put in their games a lot, like secret hard challenges like that.
Yeah.
But this was one of my favorite Zelda games altogether. I love top down Zelda anyway. But this was like the whole world was your playground, but everything was so well done. Like from the music to the graphics were really odd because
they're actually everything's slanted.
Yeah, if you look at the game from the side, it looks really odd.
Yeah, well, that's how they were able to recreate the Link to the Past look. Because if the couches were straight, then you just see the top of the couches' heads, and that wouldn't look very good. So that's why everything is at an angle.
The only time that you ever really see that though is when if Link dies, I think, because his fate animation, he zooms in and then he drops down.
No, because the screen blacks out. You can see it if you merge with the wall in certain areas, though.
Ah, yes, that's it. Yeah. Well, let's talk about that then, because I thought that mechanic was fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
That almost made the game. That's what separated the game properly from A Link to the Past, I think.
Yeah.
But quite, yeah.
Yeah.
Link to the Past also had the Dark World, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. In this game, it's called Low Rule, though. Get it? High Rule, Low Rule.
What did you think, Tom, to A Link Between Worlds?
I loved it. I thought Yuga was a really good villain, and I wish that they'd bring him back at some point.
Yeah. Too bad Ganon hijacks the plot again.
I was gonna say, I wish just in terms of Zelda games in general, I wish they wouldn't use Ganon for every game.
Doesn't Minish Cap not use Ganon?
He's nowhere in Minish Cap.
No, it's Vati, right?
Yeah, it's Vati. It's just Vati. No one else.
There you go then. Wish granted.
But Four
That's
Swords
what I mean.
Adventures,
I wish more games did that.
Yeah, looking at you, Four Swords Adventures. Ganon hijacks the plot in that game too.
He's always there, isn't he? He just comes in at the end and it's like, this is massive, bitches. But I mean, what did you think about A Link Between Worlds overall, Espyo?
Right. When the hype started, the major selling point was about how this game is going to be a lot more open, especially because of the fiasco of Skyward Sword.
Yeah.
So, everybody was hyped. Finally, we could get a bit more freedom. And I was incredibly skeptical. Even though I really like Skyward Sword, even back then I was already really not a fan of all the linearity. The skepticism of Link Between Worlds didn't let me really approach it without a bit of caution. So when I did get it, I was like, well, I'll see what all the fuss is about. It's probably not going to be that good. It's going to be like Link to the Past that I didn't even play, but it's going to be like a weird attempt. It's going to be like a weird attempt at freedom that's not going to work well. And then I tried it, and I realized that a lot of, even in terms of game design, it's a very interesting game because a lot of tricks and just a lot of really well-made things made it actually really work. It's not as free as Breath of the Wild, not at all, but it's a step in the right direction. And all the fears I had about, all the fears I had about it might not be the right approach to making it free weren't really justified. Yes, it's not quite free. You still have to get an item and do a dungeon, and then the only really free part is the order in which you do the dungeons. Everything else is still confined. It's a bit following the Zelda logic, but a lot of tiny design stuff like the renting mechanic, it really makes it so that, yes, it does make the game very organic. It doesn't need to be a free roaming game. It doesn't need to be open world. It doesn't need to be linear. It doesn't need to be anything. It just needs to be its own thing. And it succeeds at being its own thing. And like you guys also said about the top-down, slanted trick and all that.
Yeah.
And just the pure brilliance of the wall merging mechanic and how simple it is and how powerful it's used. It really makes this game in general shine as one of the best experiments of Nintendo on getting stuff done right. That alone is already such an achievement, and making a Zelda game that should just be, it's a a side title. It's just on a mobile console, a handheld console, and it's just a sequel. It's nothing. It's just a side game. You can ignore it. No, you definitely cannot ignore this game. This game deserves as much respect as a main title. It's incredible.
Yeah.
How it managed to achieve that. That's what really surprises me the most about this game.
I think as well, like especially after Skyward Sword, when people, I think more people were excited for this game because, like you guys were saying there, it was more free. But I think I agree with you, Espyo. I think like it still keeps a lot of the Zelda game conventions, but still opens up the pathway to what Breath of the Wild will end up doing. But it no pun intended, it's the best of both worlds. But yeah, I absolutely love this game. I think it's one of the best ones on the 3DS for certain.
Oh yeah. Yep.
And they actually reused a lot of the assets for Link Between Worlds to make the next game, which is Triforce Heroes.
Hey, I wanted to talk a bit about Link Between Worlds. You're going too fast, mate.
Did you not? Oh, sorry, Gavin. I thought you said your bit. Sorry. Carry on then.
Oh my god. Okay. So yeah, after Skyward Sword, I left a bitter taste in my mouth. I was excited for this game because it was being hyped up as, oh, it's non-linear. You can get these items whenever you want. Do whatever. Yeah, I liked it. I mean, it didn't bother me that it was very similar to Link to the Past because again, the mechanics and how everything works was a lot different. And I actually want to bring attention to the Street Pass functionality of this game because it's actually one of my favorites from the 3DS library.
Oh.
So yeah, the way Street Pass works is you pass by and you basically create your own Dark Link. Like how many hearts you have is how many hearts your Dark Link will have. You can choose what items you use in the battle, and then when you Street Pass with somebody, they'll battle you, and vice versa. Like it's actually a really clever idea because who can equal Link's power? Himself, Dark Link. Like it's genius when you think about it.
I suppose so, huh?
Yeah, and also there were achievements, like you had to win the battle without taking damage, or you had to use only a certain item, and there was like 50 of them, and it was hard to get them all. But if you got them all, you'd actually do a battle with Gramps. He's the guy who sets up Street Pass for you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you had to get an optional boss fight with that guy.
I never did that. I
slept on that.
Yeah, I never did that either.
Well, it's hard to get to. I don't blame you if you never got to it.
Yeah, maybe if Street Pass wasn't so restrictive.
Yeah, I do remember getting absolutely destroyed by, I think it was after I visited you, Gavin, for a weekend. And then when I went back, I did the battles at home, and I remember getting absolutely wrecked by this Link who would obviously beat the game, because he had like all the hearts and that, and I had like 4.
Oh,
yeah, but at the same time, the harder the Dark Link is, the higher the bounty is, because you get a rupee reward.
Yeah. And rupees, rupees were abundant in that game. You could find them everywhere.
Yeah, that's why well, you needed them. You needed them. They actually meant something because you needed them to rent the items, but you also wanted to buy the items, which is very expensive. Because if you got a game over, if your items were rented, you'd lose them and have to get them back.
I love the upgrades as well by finding the... Was it My Mice?
My Mice, yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, they were really fun. That was one of my favourite parts of Link Between Worlds.
Yeah, definitely.
Just gotta listen for that cute little squeak, and you know the one's nearby.
Yeah, I don't think there was that many that were impossible to find. Like ones that you had to look up. Like for the most part, I think they hid them really well.
Yeah, and the whole thing about the bottom screen telling you how many there are in each region is a great compromise between actually forcing you to search and not making you search every pixel of the map.
That was brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, Gavin. Sorry, I thought you said your bit. But yeah, we'll move on to Triforce Heroes because I don't think Tom and Gavin, we actually played through. Did we play through the whole game together?
Yeah, we did, and I'm glad we did because if you go into we didn't beat the DLC though because it was way too hard, but we did beat the main game, and I'm glad we did because if you're going to play Triforce Heroes, for God's sake, don't do it alone.
Yeah, it's definitely a multiplayer game.
It's like, here's the thing. I feel like it was deliberately designed to be as unplayable as possible in single player, and I hate games that do that.
Yeah, I do too.
It's like, I want to backtrack a little, but going back to Four Swords Adventures, that game is fully playable. Like, the main game can be played with just one player, and it's actually still a good time because it's snappy, it's responsive, it's not clunky like Triforce Heroes. The problem with Triforce Heroes is you can only control one Link at a time, and the other two are represented by what they call doppels. You have to switch between them, and you can only do it one by one, and it just does not work because this game is a lot more combat focused and a lot less puzzle focused than Four Swords Adventures.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Because you had to do totem time a lot, and doing that on your own again clunky. Why does it have to be that way? Because again, Four Swords Adventures, it was a lot snappier, a lot more responsive. You could separate the links off, and you could swap between them, and it was instantaneous. Or you could even create formations with them.
I think they might have got a bit lazy in this game in the sense that they thought that, oh wow, because it's online now, you'll always have someone to play with. That's not really the case.
Yeah, try playing this game with three strangers online now.
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, even at the time, I will say I did try it out with randoms when it first came out. When you guys, you and Gavin weren't available. You and Tom weren't available. Sorry, Gavin.
Yeah.
And it actually wasn't too bad. There was a few times that I got some shitters, but in game you had like 3 little emotes you could use, and there was like a thumbs up, one that was like no or something. And then there was another one, I can't remember what it was, but these 3 emotes actually covered a lot of scenarios you could find yourself in, and you could press one of these emotes to let the other players know how you were feeling, and it actually communicated quite well.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad, all things considered.
I'm sure there was the cry for voice chat though, of course.
Yeah. By the way, I just remembered there were the challenges as well, because every level in the game had like 3 or 4 challenges that you could complete. Don't do that either, because
this game's sorry, Gavin.
Because some of these challenges are not only ridiculously hard, but they're just straight up impossible in single player. Like sometimes you've got like a very strict time limit, or you have to like escort like this ball to the end of the level, make sure it doesn't get lost or you lose.
Meh.
And
that reminds me of a lot of the Federation Force levels.
Oh Jesus!
I think I'm the only one who's played that game though.
Possibly, yeah.
So far, I still haven't touched it, but don't do the challenges because you do get a reward for it, but it's absolutely laughable. You want to know what it is?
Sure.
Go for it.
300 rupees.
Oh, sounds like Breath of the Wild.
Oh dear.
Yeah. It's like overall, Triforce Heroes. Oh yeah, there's also like fashion, like all the costumes you can.
Oh yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, because the game takes place in a world called Hytopia, and it's like fashion is a big thing there. Like the entire plot of the game is like you're trying to get back the princess's dress because it was stolen, and she's forced to wear like these tights, these body tights.
It sounds like a Kirby plot.
See, yeah.
Yeah. This game does not take itself seriously at all.
Yeah.
It's kind of refreshing. Also, there's actually like a Link lookalike in this game as a regular NPC, and he's sad because he didn't get accepted to go into the Drablands, which is where the game takes place. Like he has the pink hair like Link Sprite does in the Link to the Past, and he wasn't accepted even though he's the spitting image of Link.
yeah,
that was so funny.
I remember that. Yeah, I think one of my favorite things is in the waiting room where you're waiting for the leaders to make a decision. There was that ball you could bounce around with your sword. That was always really fun.
Yeah, because it would play one of multiple songs from the entire franchise. Like you had the Zelda theme, the Great Fairy Fountain theme. You had the Linebeck's theme. There was the Overworld theme from Spirit Tracks, and a lot more.
Espio's getting a bit of a boner. He's thinking,
also,
is it a rhythm game?
And also, I just remembered, it kind of is, but there was something else I remembered I don't like about this game. Everyone shares a life bar, and I hate that.
Yeah.
Because Four Swords didn't do that.
Well, when we played, we just kept yelling at Tom to stop getting hit.
Excuse me.
It's like you have limited lives to complete each level with. So if one of the players isn't very good, then you're gonna be struggling because everyone shares a life bar.
Yeah. What did you think about Triforce Heroes, Tom? Actually, because we all played it together, didn't we? So
yeah, it was fun when we were together. But like Gavin said, if you've got no friends or no one's about, it's just shit.
You also need the right kind of friends as well, because I remember I played it on a plane ride with, which I probably should have done actually, because I think you're supposed to turn those things on flight mode. But
Ben,
yeah, we played it on a plane, and it was me and 2 other friends when we was going to Sweden, and I don't know, like I think maybe because we weren't fully into it because we was on the plane journey, but it wasn't as fun as like playing with you two because we were like we wanted to play the game properly and sort of figure out the puzzles and that. Where they weren't really into it as much as you need to be, I think, to really enjoy the game. So even then, you need the right people to play with, don't you?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
You need competent people, basically.
Yeah, which I don't know why we played with Tom, but
Whoa!
Oh, rude.
We got through it in the end.
we did. Yeah, no.
We couldn't beat the painful zone, but whatever. We just gave up. It was like too much.
Yeah, maybe some other time. I've also actually just going off track just before we go into Breath of the Wild, but I do think I think it's only me and Gavin that's got Federation Force.
I
Yeah.
have. Yeah, I
We
haven't
played
played
the
it.
demo.
I'd rather.
Okay.
I hope to play it with other people, basically, because I heard.
Yeah,
it's better.
no. I played Federation Force very briefly with a couple of other friends, and it was really fun actually when you play multiplayer. So if you find it on the cheap, pick it up and we'll play it.
Yes.
But yeah, we'll move on to Breath of the Wild quickly. So I say quickly, this is probably like one of the biggest games in Zelda's history.
And yet
Yeah.
we somehow talk about it less than Skyward Sword.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's because
It's great.
more.
It's done.
Yeah, like when I mean, I had the same feeling about Breath of the Wild when Skyward Sword, when Skyward Sword came out. Like when Breath of the Wild came out, and people were saying it's the best game ever. I didn't think it was the best game ever. I just thought it was a really good game again. But unlike Skyward Sword, Breath of the Wild has kept that legacy for itself instead of people sort of dogging on it later.
Yeah.
Did you want to start off on your thoughts for this SBO? Because I know you're massive on this game.
Might as well. So, one of the types of games that I really like the most is games that really punish me for doing poorly. I want the challenge. I want to be able to say that I beat it, not because the game gave itself to me for me to beat it, but because I actually did beat it because I can. So, seeing a game like Breath of the Wild is really almost everything I wanted in a Zelda game. Instead of being just, oh, here's this adventure, it's planned out for you. You just, grab your pawn and move it one square at a time, and you get to see the story. This is actually, here's a world, here's a stick, you go do it. And this is incredible for me. I really have to go out of my way to do stuff. Of course, that's in theory. In practice, the game is easy, and a lot of things are still, laid out for the great hero. But it's a spirit that counts, and games that literally do make it as hard for you as possible to complete may not even be that fun. I mean, we have Dark Souls, and Dark Souls is fun, but for a lot of people it isn't. So, in a way, I'm glad the game isn't just entirely, oh, this is literally hell, you have a spoon, try to kill every demon in the world.
Yeah.
It's not that hellish.
It's like it is what you make it. Right? The whole game is, if you want it to be hard, you can make it difficult for yourself, but if not...
That is quite true, too.
And it's not like it's not a thing where it's like, okay, I'm going to turn hard mode on now. It's like how you play the game determines how hard it's going to be for you.
Mm-hmm. There's just so many
genius.
easy tricks you can do to just make life so easy.
Yeah.
But the entire spirit of the game really is like, this is just a world. This is your adventure. You do it. Just go do it. What do you succeed? What do you die a bunch? What do you get hurt? Do it easy, do it hard, talk to a lot of people, explore a bunch, battle a bunch, get a lot of items. That is literally all up to you. And I adore that aspect.
Yeah,
of
that's
course.
the beauty of open world games.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And especially when you have stuff like free climbing and all the weird physics-based mechanics.
The physics in this game is what makes it what it is, I
Ragdoll
think.
physics.
Yeah,
I feel like
like-
I'm playing an official Gmod game made by Nintendo.
But
Isn't it?
that's what makes it so, like, some of the solutions to puzzles so...
Engaging.
So it feels like there is an unlimited amount of ways to solve stuff in this game.
Yeah, there's like an unprecedented amount of detail in the game too. Like the developers thought of pretty much everything. Like how things should behave. Like, yeah, you got a fire sword, you're carrying a chunk of ice, the ice starts melting.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, that's annoying, but wow, that's such attention to detail.
I remember being in a shrine. There's a shrine where you have to. I think you have to move some ice blocks. And I had the fire sword on my back at the time. And I was picking them up, and I was like, "Why is this melting?" And it took me a while to realize. I was like, "Oh, it's my sword."
Yeah.
But that's awesome. Like like Gavin said, that attention to detail just makes you think that they even thought of that. That's insane.
And stuff like that, the best part is that's not even attention to detail. Actually, that's just the actual system is so good. It's just doing what it's told.
Yeah.
If something warm is next to something frigid, it's going to melt it. So for a game programmer like I am, Breath of the Wild is something that I can spend, when I'm playing it, 20% of my brain is just enjoying the fun. 20% is enjoying the actual hardcore aspects of it. Maybe I should try bullet time bouncing here. Maybe I should try parrying that instead of just laying it, just relaxing and letting the game go. And the remaining 60% is me trying to figure out exactly what systems are in place, how they're interacting with each other, how the game is processing things behind the scenes, and managing to do it all on what's essentially a goddamn cell phone.
Yeah, I was going to say that as a programmer, I bet you're like a kid in a candy shop.
It absolutely is. I can grab this game at any moment, and there's just something always there for me to have fun with. If I just want to grab some pickups, like expand my amount of apples, because they're always useful, I know what to do. I just explore and get them, or other materials. If I want to do side quests, I know how to do them. They're always there. If I want some combat and some fun parts about the combat, like parrying and flurry rush, I know where to find the enemies and do that, and get my ass kicked, but it's fun. If I want to just see the systems interact, the physics, the weather system, the temperature systems, everything, there's also that. There's always something for this goddamn game to give me. It's incredible. There are some games you can boot and be like, oh yeah, I remember playing this game, I had fun, and then you play it and you're like, well, I already experienced everything that's here. It's
a game where when there's nothing else left to find, there's still stuff to have fun with. Like, you don't have to have a checklist of like, oh, I need to go find this shrine. Oh, I guess I'm done playing now. It's like, no, you'll find the shrine, or you'll be on your way to the shrine and just end up doing like a million other things. Because I will shout out quickly Monolith Soft for designing the world, because it's brilliantly designed. There's always, I'm playing Immortals right now, which takes really heavy inspiration from this game. And in that game, they have you survey the area, but they also have you like scan for chests and stuff really far away. And the world is fun, but you can tell it's not as well designed as this game, because Breath of the Wild doesn't require you to track stuff on a map for you to be able to see something of interest. In this world, in this genius open world that Monolith designed, there's always something for you to see in the horizon and go, what's that? And then you go over and have a look, and that's like almost the thing that makes the game for me, because the sense of discovery is like unrivaled.
I see.
Yeah, that's again the beauty of open world games. Like, this game solidified my love for that kind of gameplay. Like, I got a taste of it in Xenoblade. I experienced it full in Breath of the Wild. It's like I follow a path, I see something at the side, I'm like, oh, what's that? I gotta check that out. And I've done that so many times, and yet it was never a bother to me. I enjoyed that. I always had something new to discover around every corner.
What did you enjoy about Breath of the Wild, Tom?
When I first got it, one of the things I loved doing, because I'd never played like a open world game like that before Breath of the Wild, really, I don't think.
Yeah.
I used to love the physics of it, really. So like rolling boulders down paths to kill enemies, and destroying enemy bases and shit like that.
Yeah. What did everyone think of the story in this game? Because I will say that is a point where I feel like they sacrificed the story for the game, I guess. They definitely went gameplay first, story later. I mean, I know Nintendo does that in a lot of their games, but this one is really prevalent.
Yeah.
We'll start with you, Gavin.
Yeah, the story was a bit underwhelming. Like, this was the first Zelda game that I have voice acting, and no, the CDI games don't count. Shut up. And,
I want them to.
Why aren't they in this?
And when I realized, I was like, oh wow, this game really is going to be bigger than ever before. And it's like, not really, because the voice actors, they're not bad, but I think the performances are like a little phoned in, especially Mipha. Like, Mipha has a really nice voice, but she sounds bored.
They sound very amateurish. Sorry, I sound amateurish. No, they sound a bit amateurish. Like, they haven't quite honed the character yet.
Yeah.
But I know. I don't know if it's the same in this game, but I know with Xenoblade 2, one of the voice actors actually was saying how little direction they got, and maybe that was kind of the case here as well.
Yeah, that does sound likely, actually. I might have heard about something like that.
Yeah, just because a lot of the time when they're speaking, apart from a few, like, I feel like a character like Rivali, his character, you don't really need to, you just need to act a bit brash and a bit snarky. Whereas, like, with Mipha, for example, she's got to be a bit more compassionate, but that can come off as boring, like Gavin said, like, really easily, unless you have some sort of direction to help you out.
Yeah.
So, But yeah, I mean, carry on, Gavin. What was you saying about the story?
Yeah, I felt it was underwhelming. I mean, it wasn't a big part of the game because it was mainly told through the memories that you had to recover, which, you know, it's fine because the world's already gone to shit in the 100 years you've been asleep. Like, the main focus of the game is, of course, the overworld, the open world, just doing whatever you want. And
the game.
Your ultimate goal is just to defeat Ganon whenever you want to.
Yeah.
Like, do you want to go in all guns blazing, or do you want to get stronger first?
Yeah.
Did you feel the same way, Espyo?
Quite a bit. I mean, the story, yeah, it's not a whole lot to be said. I do like the little snippets that do exist. I didn't feel like they were very boring, but at the same time, they're just so small and so sporadic that I'm playing the game, and then a cutscene starts because I got too close to Zora's Domain, and I can like quickly shift my focus towards a cutscene, enjoy it, and then just store it somewhere in my brain and continue doing whatever nonsense I was doing. Whereas in other Zelda games, you can't really afford to do that. Like, at every moment, you're trying to progress with the plot, and when plot happens, you gotta pay attention. Here, it's just, alright, there's a game, and there's a plot. I'm trying to multitask both things.
Yeah, it never really steers you in another direction, I suppose, does it?
No, not at all. And it's really odd, because by all means, if you put that on paper, everybody in the room is going to say, yeah, no, that's going to be a sucky game. But it just works. There's nothing wrong with it in reality. When the game actually came out, it just works.
Yeah, I mean, at the start of the game, it tries to nudge you to go towards Varuta first, which is the Zora domain. But you don't have to go there first. Obviously, you can go anywhere you want to. So the game, it does enough to push you in a direction, but it doesn't force you or anything like that. I mean, what did you think of the story, Tom? Was you kind of the opinion that we've all had, that it was a bit underwhelming?
Yeah, I share your sentiments with that. When I played it, I expected more, and it was a bit disappointing to know that all the cutscenes and the trailers and shit was just from flashbacks.
I thought that specifically with the cutscene where I think Zelda and Link, they're all filthy, and she ends up like crying in his arms or what have you. Yeah. And I thought, holy shit, this game's going to be incredible. Just because I was like, there's been nothing in that, like that in Zelda before, and I think it was just in a memory. I think, and it wasn't even it wasn't even like built up or like there was a lot of backstory to it. And I was just really disappointed. But did you guys? Because part of the story, obviously, was going through the dungeons to save the champions that had died.
The divine beasts.
The dungeon of this game, the divine beasts. I mean, I actually thought they were alright. I thought they were short compared to other Zelda dungeons, and they weren't as complex. But I mean, you can't. I don't think you can have the shrines as good as they were, and then expect a full-blown Zelda dungeon 4 times in this game. I think that would. I mean, maybe that's in Breath of the Wild too, but I think you would have been asking for a bit much if you asked it in this game.
Yeah,
more or less.
But I never. Did any of you guys play the DLC dungeon? Because I didn't do that one.
I haven't actually.
I bought it. I bought it like 40 game hours ago, and I'm still getting to it. I started a new game, and I'm like, all right, time to go to the DLC. Ooh, apples. Ooh, look at that sword. Oh, look, a new goblin.
Ooh, it's
pretty much. So from the DLC, I got one shirt. That's literally all.
Yeah. Oh wow. Because this was the first main Zelda game to have DLC, I believe, and I remember at the time I kicked off about it. I was like, "Oh, for God's sake, not Zelda!"
Well, like actual paid DLC, because Triforce Heroes had a free update. Stuff, but this was
right. I see.
Not like expanded what you could do. It
gave you they forced you to buy 2 packs to get all the stuff.
Yeah.
Like, because if I'm being honest, I would have liked to have bought the second DLC pack, the one that was like, oh yeah, it's a new dungeon, and it expands on the story. From what I've heard, it doesn't really.
Yeah, I think it's just more dungeon, more.
Yeah, it's more dungeon and like a few more cutscenes of the champions, I think.
And a cool reward or rewards, and that's about it.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is though about this game, but like even with the underwhelming story and I guess. Not bland characters, but not as exciting characters like compared to Skyward Sword, for example. There's just something about this world that I found really interesting and like just engrossing.
Yeah.
Even though
You just want to see everything in it, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, even though there's I think maybe it's because the world's so like green and there's a lot of fields and stuff. But when you find something of interest, you are blown away by it. Because I remember finding the Forgotten Temple, and I think there's a shrine in there or what have you. But I remember finding that location and I was like, holy shit, what's this? And it just felt so cool to find places like that, because there isn't a lot of stuff like that in the game. But I feel like if you put more stuff like that in the game, it would devalue the feeling of finding stuff like that.
Yeah, in general, I think it's because the world actually feels like a world. It doesn't feel like a set piece for you to like see, which ties a bit back with what I said at the beginning. Like, the game isn't just a sequence of events that you are meant to go through. It really is just, here's a world. It was not crafted for you. Go do your best in it. It's literally all up to you. Your victories are literally your own. They're not the developer's victories handed to you. They're your own. So when you find something, it doesn't feel like it's there for you to see. It feels it's just there, and you happen to stumble upon it. That's what makes it so brilliant. And in general, what makes open world so brilliant.
Yeah, especially like, I feel like one thing this game did really well in that essence was it didn't just feel like a real world. It felt like a real destroyed world. Like, it felt post-apocalyptic.
Yeah, because all the residents were just like in their own secluded locations. Like, they weren't all out and about for the most part. But you could
when you found the town, it was rare.
Yeah, it's like you could tell that disaster struck. And people are just trying to live the best they can.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of the side quests? Because I'll be honest, this is a thing where I give Breath of the Wild a lot of shit, because I think that a lot of the rewards you get for side quests are really underwhelming. And I sometimes don't see the point in doing them.
Yeah, pretty much that too. Like, it goes towards completion and almost nothing else.
Yeah,
really, that's
most of the time
interesting.
you just get rupees.
Yeah. I never saw the side quests as a means to an end, actually, come to think of it. When you mentioned the side quests, my brain was like, oh yeah, all the fun stuff you can do to the villagers. And my mind did not once, not to the villagers, just for the villagers, you know.
Yeah.
My mind not once went to the rewards. And when you mentioned the rewards, I was like, oh yeah, they're like 10 rupees, 100 rupees, yay.
Yeah.
But I just remember having fun doing the quests. Like, oh, you want me to come back when I find this specific piece? All right, I'll leave it on my like to-do list and just go have fun. And it's even one more thing to do when I'm out and about. On top of checking out that tree, hitting that hole for a Korok seed, slamming that enemy base, I also have to worry about that side quest. It just adds more fun and more stuff to do. I completely forgot about the rewards.
I can completely see that as well, because I remember it's one of the first quests you find in the game, I think, if you go the Varuta way. This guy at one of these stables, I think he asked you to fetch some weaponry from Hyrule Castle. And I didn't do that at first, because I was like, okay, that's Hyrule Castle, I'm not going there, I've only just started the game. So I went later on and got the weaponry and what have you, but doing that quest was so much fun, and then I come back and he gave me like 50 rupees, and I was like, huh. But the things I got from the quest was those really strong weapons, which is really cool, which is a cool way of doing it. But I just wish there was more quests in the game that was like that. Like, doing the quest was fun, but a lot of the time where I expected to get something back that was substantial. Like, I think one of the biggest ones for me was, does anyone remember, it's in the Ice Mountain region, I can't remember what the name of it. It begins with H.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Hebra.
That's it, yeah. And it's a shield surf mini game, and I thought, oh cool, are you going to get like a really good shield? Like, I know not that Hylian shield, like, but like a really strong shield maybe, or something special. And you just get the normal traveler's shield for it, and I was like, oh come on, like you could have given me some, like I can find those out and about. Give me something that's a bit more substantial. And I feel like a lot of quests had that, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's odd. I suppose it's something for them to improve in Breath of the Wild 2, which we might cover later.
Yeah, no, I guess we'll move on to that now, unless you wanted to add your 2 cents, Gavin.
No, I'm good. I
actually think that's another topic we need to discuss real quick, the weapon durability.
Oh, yes, that is a massive one, yeah. I guess you kick it off, Espyo.
As a developer, for me, it's very easy to just look at the system and be like, yeah, there's nothing right here. But then, of course, I hear everyone's opinions and even my own like voice at the back of my head when I'm playing. And the system is not very good. What is it about it that's not good? I mean, we can't give the player weapons and just have them not break. That will completely destroy the balance of the game, like permanently. It's absolutely unfeasible. So what do? You make them break, but that's awful too because the player gets attached to weapons. They are happy about getting a good weapon, and then they break, and all that effort literally goes to the drain. But what is the solution? As a developer, that really is. I'm not quite sure what the solution is. I think the system is fine as is. I mean, I personally do not care much about losing a weapon. I have more. It was a good weapon, yes, but I'll get another one. And I use that weapon to beat some enemies that if I were to use like a stick, I would probably be there for 7 hours. I think I use it properly, and I don't mind that it broke. It was a valiant death. But it still leaves a bit of a bad taste. So I think I should say that the conclusion I can draw from the weapon breaking system is it's fine. People need to grow a bit of a backbone. I'm being serious. Come on, people, don't exaggerate. But Breath of the Wild 2 needs to have more durability. It should still have durability, just more. Some weapons are just good and break after like literally 8 hits. It's a bit much.
That's something I think they could have given you with the side quests. It's just like higher durability weapons, maybe.
For instance. But if you also make them too durable, it makes the player attached to them, too afraid to use them, and break that brilliant durability, and that also defeats the system. So maybe just make everything a bit more durable.
I will say this though. At least it handled durability better than fucking Animal Crossing New Horizons. New Horizons has breakable tools, and it doesn't even give you an indication when it's going to happen. And I hate that to death. Even the golden tools break, and it's a pain in the ass to collect those, and it's like it's not worth it.
I agree with you, Espyo and Gavin. I suppose I didn't really mind the weapon durability in Breath of the Wild, mainly because I saw the world as just like this. You're almost like a caveman, like you're just using things to survive. So I didn't really see it as like I didn't really get attached to swords until I found out the fire sword. When I first found out the fire sword, I was like, oh holy shit, this is cool as fuck. And until I started finding more, I was reluctant to use it because I was like, this thing feels really special. But then when I found more, I was like, oh, okay, never mind then. And eventually it got to the point where I was like, you know, when you throw a weapon, if you could throw a weapon at an enemy and just like triple damage or what have you, I was doing it all the time because I was just like, I'm not too fussed. If the main thing that I'm attached to is me, not the weapon.
Right.
So if you see it from a more survivalist point of view, like kind of like the whole Event-Tide Island side quest, I think it's perfectly fine how it's done. The weapon durability didn't get on my nerves at all.
Yeah, plus it's easy to get new weapons as well, and it becomes a lot more manageable once you get the Master Sword because that doesn't break; it just runs out of power for a little bit.
Yeah,
you have the Master Sword forever, basically.
What would you think about the durability, Tom? Did it bug you?
It was annoying at first, but you understand why. Yeah.
Yeah, the thing is, if you compare it to a game like Animal Crossing, it's they're night and day. Like Animal Crossing, I think, is fine with that until the golden tools, which is ridiculous. I don't know why they break because that's a game that you play for hours and hours and hours, and it's a very slow game. Whereas Breath of the Wild is like we said before, like it's whatever you want it to be. So I feel like it just fits those. It don't really fit into any one pigeonhole, so I think that the durability is perfectly fine in this game. But it is something that I would like to see, not addressed in a sequel, but like I guess given a revision. Yeah, revamped. I mean, I have so much, optimism for the sequel because I feel like everything that I have got, every issue I've got with Breath of the Wild 1, or I think Breath of the Wild 2 will just fix and then some.
Well, hopefully,
I mean, what are you guys? I'm assuming you guys are hyped as hell as well.
Yeah, I just wonder when we're gonna learn more about the game.
I hope it's this year, if I'm honest.
I honestly hope they give us a Metroid Prime 4 situation. Like, I don't mind if they say it's being delayed because that means it's gonna be like Game of the Everything.
Espyo 2021. I do hope they make the story better because like we complain about. Maybe this game could be more story-based because I actually have to wonder what they're going to do with this game because it looks like it takes place in the same Hyrule as Breath of the Wild. They can't just give us the same thing again.
No, I do think that.
I also really want to know what's up with Zelda because her hair is shorter. People think it might be a hint that she has a much bigger role, like she might even be playable. And what is that? And all I can say is, Smithers, who was that corpse? Like, who is that?
It looks closer to Demise from Skyward Sword than it looks like traditional Ganondorf.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I think I got sent a video about where Breath of the Wild is in the timeline, but I have no idea where it is.
Breath of the Wild is like at the very end. From what I don't know if it's true, but like all the timelines just come together to form Breath of the Wild at the very end of the timeline.
Okay, I still need to watch this video that I got sent, but yeah.
It's like, so it doesn't matter if Link defeated Ganondorf at the end of Ocarina of Time. It doesn't matter if Link died at the end of Ocarina of Time because at the very end, hell's still going to break loose.
Yeah.
Yep.
I
Thanks,
think my main wants from Breath of the Wild 2 is a more focused story.
More traditional dungeons is one as well for me.
Yeah, more traditional dungeons. I'm fine with shrines still being there. I'm even fine if they drop the number of shrines to make more traditional dungeons. Because I think traditional dungeons with the physics of Breath of the Wild will be fucking amazing.
Oh, yeah.
And I hope that the dungeons... Because one of the things about Divine Beast as well is that every dungeon felt like atmospherically similar because they're all using the same sort of architecture. So I hope that the Breath of the Wild sequel has more varied locations in terms of dungeons. More focused story, and I guess like Espyo was saying, don't make the side quests like rely on having the rewards for you to do them, but also just give out more substantial things. Like, I guess one thing that I'll just hark back quickly to Breath of the Wild is I love the secret horses you could find, but you couldn't keep them. You couldn't keep some of them. They had that. That was the kind of thing that I wanted for Breath of the Wild to reward you with doing side quests or something of merit. So I hope that they have something like that in Breath of the Wild too.
It's tricky because some of the magic of Breath of the Wild and its like unobtainable stuff really is because it's unobtainable. Like that's
I agree there.
So it's a bit tricky to be like, oh, you can get everything. That means nothing has value. Yeah. That's exactly it, bittersweet. So it's a balancing act that's going to be very difficult for Nintendo to get right.
Yeah, I think my main other thing is before I let you go onto it, but I hope that it has a more traditional soundtrack as well because I think the music that's in Breath of the Wild is fucking fantastic, but it just doesn't. It's kind of, I guess, got the Xenoblade X effect in the sense where it doesn't really use the amount of great music it's got enough. Do you agree with that, Gavin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I get you.
What would you like to see from the sequel then?
Reworked dungeons, a better story. We already talked about it, didn't we? What do I want to see? Well, honestly, with how much Breath of the Wild surprised me, I'm not sure. I'd just say, be a bit more traditional in some way. Like, have dungeons. Like, maybe bring back items as well. Because all you really have is the sword, the shield, a bow and arrow. Maybe bring back, other items too, like...
Claw grips.
I'm a slap. If I wasn't isolating, I would come over there and slap you one.
All of a sudden, the hands come through the window. Claw grip!
You make a tasty treat.
God.
Yeah, did you? What are you wanting to see, Espyo? Because I think you haven't really said specifics.
No, not at all. But it is pretty much just that in general. What I really want to see the most of is just the gameplay being as good, if not better. That's actually my number one thing. Because, I don't necessarily like Breath of the Wild because of its story or characters or amazing soundtrack. I do like those things, just not what I want not Skyward Sword, Breath of the Wild to be. So please focus on the gameplay.
Yeah.
But as you focus on the gameplay and you're already building on top of a fantastic foundation, that leaves a lot of room for Nintendo to expand on everything else: the story, the locations, the ambience. So I don't think I can say I specifically want one thing because I know that they're going to deliver on a bunch. But if I had to pick one, it would be the dungeons. Some really leave a bit of a boring taste in my mouth. Like, I do them and I'm like, all right, what kind of fun shenanigans am I going to do? Even whether I do them in the way that Nintendo wanted, or whether I actually grab the runes and do some shenanigans to break it. What am I going to do? Oh, this shrine has you use this torch to put a fire over there, and the exit is open. Oh, okay.
Yeah, simple ones.
Come on, Nintendo. I mean, okay, they're fine as breather, but like the entire game is a breather. When you leave a dungeon, you're just walking. It's a breather. If I go to the dungeon, I want something hardcore. So please.
Yeah, you prepare yourself for it.
Yeah. Also, very specifically, I want one specific thing. I don't know why I really want this, but every time I play the game, I feel like I want this in the sequel. So, Nintendo, if you're listening, please, a way to quickly drop weapons or to keep a weapon in like a non-inventory spot. What do I mean by this? One of the best things about Breath of the Wild's early game is when you go to an enemy camp, you sneak up behind them or not, and you just get to grab their weapons and like either take them for yourself or throw them at them. This is especially fun when like you're battling and you successfully parry an attack, the opponent drops his weapon, and you can just do things with the weapon. But very shortly after early game, your inventory is full. So if you successfully parry a weapon, an enemy's attack, they'll drop their weapon, and then what? There's nothing you can follow that up with. You can't grab the weapon and like smack him in the face with it. You can't like throw it away. Yeah, that's just it. You can't even pick it up and throw it away for the enemy to not attack because you don't have inventory slots. If they could at least add some feature where even if you're at full inventory, you could like grab a weapon on the floor, store it in like just a hand, not an inventory spot, but just a hand, and like you can do stuff with it, even if it's just throwing away. It would make the combat so much more fun, and it would make actually invading the enemies and taking care of their weapons a lot more interactive than just, oh, you dropped your weapon, good for you.
Sounds like a lot more quality of life updates.
Nintendo, hire this
that
man.
That too, but for some reason I specifically want that. Because like it's not bad if you can't do anything with a weapon that drops. Like the enemy's still unarmed, so it's an advantage. But it just feels like wasted potential for fun. I want to grab his weapon and throw it away and hear him be mad at it. Why can't I do that? But yeah, other than that, quality of life, and I would be like sold. I would buy the game 3 times over.
Yeah. What are you going to answer that, Tom? Because when I was talking, I heard you going, yeah. You sounded like Jeremy Corbyn.
Get at it.
Yeah.
I'll tell you 2 things, shall I? That I would like.
Go for it.
Oh, that's too many.
First of all, I think we can all agree the bosses in Breath of the Wild were quite shit. They were just Ganon.
Yeah.
Fight Ganon. Fight
so
Ganon
something
again.
unique there. But also, I think it's only something like 12 enemy types that Breath of the Wild has.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, a lot
I forgot about that.
Like, where's the Iron Knuckles? Where's the Redeads? Where's the Dark Nuts?
If I had to fight another Bokoblin, I'm gonna.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, more enemy variety would be brilliant. Okay, so we'll move on to quickly gloss over some of the remakes that have been done over the years. We'll just start off by going over Ocarina of Time 3D. I love this game. I think it's the definitive way to play Ocarina of Time. I already liked Ocarina of Time, but yeah, this remake I thought was brilliant. Looks great, sounds great, plays great.
Yeah, this was pretty much what put Grezzo on the map for a lot of people. Because they didn't just redo the graphics, they pretty much redid everything. And they made some quality life improvements. Like, the graphics on the original N64, yeah, they've aged. The 3D version just looks a hell of a lot better.
Yeah, it looks great.
Like, there's better textures, there's a lot more detail. The animations have been reworked to look less stiff. The frame rate was bumped up to 30 because the original was in 20.
If you go from the original to the 3D version, I remember thinking, is this 60 frames per second? It felt
yeah. And the opposite too. If you go back to the original, you're like, oh, this is a slideshow. Where's the next button?
It's PowerPoint.
And of course, Master Quest is included, which is a great plus as well. Because a lot of people missed out on that when it was originally available. It's also
it's mirrored this time, right?
It's mirrored, which I don't see how that makes it harder, but you also take double damage. There's also the boss rush mode, like you can actually replay boss fights by going to your bed in your house.
That was the main edition I remember, actually.
Yeah, and the water temple was made easier. Yeah, the Sheikah Stone's in the game because apparently casuals don't know that game facts exists.
Why'd you set him off, Tom?
But again, the boots, they're now treated as a separate item, so you can take them on and off with a quick button press.
Yeah.
The Ocarina has its own button too.
I can't remember if this is true, but I swear I remember reading an interview with Anuma where he was like, the only reason I wanted this game to be made is so I could fix the water temple.
Well,
I think I remember that.
well,
It was something like that.
not a bad reason.
Yeah.
Speaking of interviews, Grezzo did say in some interviews that they intentionally left some of the most popular glitches in the game, and if you talk to any speedrunner out there, and they'll tell you that's not true.
Oh, really?
They did patch out some bugs like the infinite sword glitch and hovering, but at the same time, it doesn't really matter because Ocarina of Time 3D is still very broken. Just look at the any percent world record. It's like less than 40 minutes because you still got wrong warping. You can just warp to the credits.
Can it be done faster than the original game?
No, because Ocarina of Time 3D doesn't have SRM as far as I know.
Okay.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Like, you can beat Ocarina of Time regularly. The any percent run is like 7 minutes now.
Okay, now.
Yeah.
I will say about Ocarina of Time 3D, one thing that was sort of added to the game, which was annoying because this was the time where Nintendo just wanted to throw health and safety stuff in your face. I think after you play for half an hour or an hour or something, like Nafi will pop up and be like, "Hey, I think you should take a break now." I'm like, "Fuck off, Nafi!" Although I probably should have listened because I had to start wearing glasses recently, so maybe I should have listened.
Oh my god, why were you... I don't recognize you anymore. But it was worth it though because the 3D looks so good in this game. Back when the 3D was a big selling point on the 3DS, this game really just took massive advantage of it. It looks so amazing in 3D.
Even one of my friends that didn't really play Nintendo games or anything like that. I got the 3DS and he came around like a day or two afterwards. And I was playing Ocarina of Time 3D, and he was like, "Oh shit, is it Ocarina of Time?" And I said, "Yeah." And I put the 3D on and let him have a go, and even he was like, "Oh my god, this is amazing."
Yeah. not bad for an early title.
No, it isn't, not at all. Did you have anything to say about Ocarina of Time 3D, Espyo? I don't think you played it, did you?
No, I didn't. It's like one of those things. Like, if I were to play it again, I could probably play there.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't have enough new stuff for me to actually go out of my way. But
That's
yeah, it's definitely the definitive edition.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel the same way, Tom?
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks beautiful. It's beautiful. It plays nicely. It's good.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, we'll head on to Wind Waker HD, which I think is probably one... Right, okay, when I say this, I mean it purely in terms of how the game looks, but I think it's one of the more pointless Zelda remakes. But in terms of stuff that I guess it twists to make more not as tedious, this was probably needed.
Like the art style has a lot more bloom on it. Like it could blind you, but at the same time, it looks crisp. Like
it does look good.
Yeah, like I actually will prefer this version over the original GameCube version now because of the changes it made. Because it made a lot of nice changes to make the whole experience more enjoyable, more refined. Like, okay, so it actually has a new remastered soundtrack with higher quality samples, and it all sounds really good. Especially Windfall Island's new theme sounds great.
Is that so?
The Wind Waker is now a permanent addition to your what? It has its own button, is what I'm saying. You don't have to equip.
Yeah, I know what you're gonna say. Yeah,
and also when you're on the boat, the bombs and the grappling hook also have their own designated buttons, so you have more room for other items.
Yeah.
And speaking of sailing, the Swift Sail's in this game.
This is awesome.
Yeah, you have to get it from the Windfall Island auction, and you can't do that until you beat Dragon Roost Cavern. But you want to get that as soon as possible.
Yeah.
I don't even mind that it lets you sail faster. My thing is, it changes the wind automatically. That was a big thing in the original for me. Was having to constantly change the wind when you were wanting to sail. Like,
here's the thing is though, the Swift Sail is so good that it actually got added to the Wind Waker randomizer.
Really?
Yeah. If you were to play the Wind Waker randomizer because it's on the GameCube version, it'll actually give you the Swift Sail right from the beginning.
Okay, that's awesome. It does make the game a lot more better. Like it cuts down on the tedium, and I guess speaking of cutting down on the tedium, that Triforce chart quest that got greatly improved.
Yeah. Yeah, there were 8 shards, but 5 of them you now just find right away. There's only 3 Triforce charts now that you need to decipher. which also
How much
means
did it
there's
cut down the
5
rupees by?
Each one cost 398 rupees to decipher, so it was just over 3,000 in the original.
Yeah.
Why 98?
I don't know, but
Tingle's awkward.
that's another good change they made, because in the original, the starting wallet was so tiny. You only had 200 rupees, and you couldn't get an upgrade until Hyrule became not Hyrule, the Great Sea became cursed, and you went back to Outside Island. But now you have 500 rupees as your max to begin with, and that is so much better. You can actually afford things at the auction now, early in the game. You can actually keep the rupees that you find throughout the first few dungeons. Oh, that's so good. And
a lot of overspill.
Probably one of the biggest changes to this game, for me personally, was the revamping of the Nintendo Gallery and the Picto Box.
Oh yeah, how did this work in this game? Because
okay, so you got the Picto Box from Tingle's jail cell because he stole it. You give and you go to Lenzo, the photography guy, and you do a side quest with him where you have to take a picture of 3 different situations on Windfall Island. In the original, when you complete that, you got a joy pendant, but in the HD remaster, he just gives you the deluxe Picto Box, which is the one that takes color pictures. So you don't
straight away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you don't have to go to the Forest Haven to get a Firefly anymore, which means you can start taking pictures of Nintendo Gallery subjects a lot quicker. And you can also hold up to 12 pictures instead of 3.
Oh my god, yeah, that's so much better.
And you could also take selfies. That was a feature to
add. That was a really fun feature. That was because like the Link in Wind Waker anyway is so cute that the selfies he could take were awesome. I love those.
Yeah, and the Nintendo Gallery was also improved. It's still the same idea, but previously you could only get 1 figurine per day, but now you can get a maximum of 12 figurines a day.
Jeez, really? That was a limitation. That's silly.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, it's such a relief.
And was now the best thing about it for you, Gavin, about the game?
As a completionist, yes.
Yeah.
It's like the Nintendo Gallery is now definitely doable on the first playthrough.
What was the Hero's Charm? Was that where you get to see enemies' health bars?
Yeah. Okay. So they actually changed how you get that in the remaster. So in the original...
just for people listening, sorry, I'm just looking at a document that we've got just for like little tidbits, and I just saw the Hero's Charm. I was like, what's that?
Yeah, the Hero's Charm. So in the original, you had to give Mrs. Murray 41 joy pendants to get it, but now,
I remember now.
But now the Hero's Charm has been moved to the bottom of the Savage Labyrinth, which is the boss gauntlet on Windfall Island.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you right now, if you think that was a weird change, do you know what they did in the original GameCube Japanese version of Wind Waker? Because at the bottom, in the Japanese version on the GameCube Wind Waker, at the very bottom of the Savage Labyrinth, guess what was there?
The 100
Triforce chart?
No.
A rupee?
10 rupees.
What was the point of doing it in the Japanese version then?
You wanted to be 10 rupees richer, of course.
Oh my god, that's awful. In the original game, it was a Triforce chart, wasn't it?
No, that was on the 30th floor. On the 50th floor, at the very bottom was a piece of heart.
Okay.
The piece of heart was just relocated in the HD remaster.
That is so troll. Brilliant. So we'll move on to Majora's Mask 3D, unless Tom, have you got anything to say about Wind Waker HD?
I skipped it. I didn't play the remaster.
No, well,
same.
Actually, that does remind me, because I got the game for free, because do you remember that Mario Kart 8 promotion?
Yeah, you could get a free game with it. Nintendo were desperate, so they're like,
yeah, they were. I mean, I was going to get Mario Kart 8 anyway, but so it was like just a bonus for me, so I ended up getting Wind Waker HD.
Yeah. Actually, there is one thing I want to mention as well. The Wind Waker HD took out the Tingle Tuner.
Oh yeah,
of course.
It replaced it with the Tingle Border, which lets you share messages with other people through Miiverse. It was also you could also send photos, pictographs. So if you missed a subject from Nintendo Gallery, then just hope that somebody sent it to you.
What did they do about? Because they removed the Tingle Tuner. Because longer find their secret chests and stuff in dungeons then.
You mean the Tingle statues? They're actually still in the HD remake. Yeah, they're still there. You just need a regular bomb to find them.
Okay.
I have no idea if there's any hint in the game to tell you this, but the Tingle statues are still there. They just need a regular bomb now.
Okay, I didn't know that. That's cool to know. So Majora's Mask 3D. Now this, I've actually recently replayed this, so I've got a really good fresh mindset on this game. This was the game that made me love Majora's Mask, because I think I've said before, but I didn't like the original when I played it. So this game, with its Bomber's Notebook to keep track of the side quests and make that a lot more, I guess easier to keep track of, made this game so much better for me. And the new save system. It was those two things that really made it for me.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of changes in this game that honestly brought down the experience quite a bit.
For some people, Ocarina of Time 3D, everybody agrees that's a good remake, but Majora's Mask 3D is more divisive because of some of the more casualizations it made, like the revamped
and just odd changes.
Yeah, like not everything was a good change. Like I'm especially talking about Zora Link swimming. Like why did they gimp that so hard?
That's some of the best swimming controls like ever in a game, and they
it was smooth.
Yeah, and then you can still do it, but you have to use magic.
Yeah, and also the bosses were reworked as well. Like they have new patterns. They have a new giant eyeball for weak point, and some people don't like that because it they say it like trivializes the bosses a bit more rather than just you doing your own thing to take.
Definitely makes it feel more gamey.
Yeah, definitely. Like Odawa or whatever his name is, the first boss. Like you just wail on him.
Yeah.
You just have to, but now you have to expose his weak point on the back of his head.
That boss is still really easy though. Like he was easy in Majora's Mask, the original, but he's really easy in the remake too.
And then there's Twin Mode, which is
oh my god,
Twin Mode. That boss was very reworked because in the original, you got the Giant's Mask after defeating the second Eye Door, but now in Majora's Mask 3D, you get the Giant's Mask after killing one of the two Twin Modes, which means now it's actually a mandatory item to use because you have to basically wrestle with the remaining Twin Mode.
You do, yeah. You actually do. You don't use your sword. You like WWE him.
Yeah, you have to like just pummel him with your bare hands to weaken him.
The problem is that like when you hit him with your hands. By the way, it was weird how I did it because I had to look up why I wasn't. Because he's supposed to, after you hit him for a while, he's supposed to sort of go down and get stunned, and then that's when you grapple him or swing him around.
Yeah, you swing him around and then you just slamming him to the ground.
The animation is cool. I'll give it that.
Yeah.
But when you're trying to hit him, if you don't hit him enough times before he goes back in the sand, the counter resets, so it can take you like ages to like sort of do it properly. And I had to look it up again when I replayed the game because I was like, why isn't he dying?
I was struggled there too because I was just wailing on him and nothing was happening.
Yeah, so I don't know why they did that. That wasn't a good change, I don't think.
Yeah.
It was really frustrating, that one, but especially because in the original game, it felt like once you got the Giant's Mask, it was kind of like a reward just to wail on him and have like a really fun time.
They just really wanted to have a proper use for the Giant's Mask since it was optional originally.
Yeah, and I also
I
feel like the boss fight against what's his name? The one against is it Goat or Got or what have you? Goat. That one's fine. That one's really similar to how it is in the original. But what's the water one called?
Gjord.
Gjord, that's it. He was changed a lot as well, wasn't he?
Yeah.
There's
actually like a whole new face. Yeah, there's like a whole new second phase to the Gjord fight.
That's the one underwater, right? Where you have to like pop the mines and then he sucks them in.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't mind that too much. Also, it was mainly the Twin Mode one.
Speaking of optional things, there was also a fishing minigame added to the 3D remake.
I didn't realize that wasn't in the original.
It's completely optional though, but you can actually fish with any of Link's transformed forms. Like, yeah, even Fierce DD Link can go fishing.
That's cool.
The funny thing is, the owner of the fishing pond won't let you leave as Fierce DD Link because he's afraid that you'll scare people.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm guessing you can't use the Giant's Mask in there.
Of course you can.
Oh, that's a shame.
I mean, the fishing rod would be like a matchstick in your hand.
Yeah.
That is bringing me back memories, though. Isn't there a glitch you can use with a Fierce DD Mask in that place, and you can use it outside of the fishing place?
Oh, is that?
There is a glitch that lets you put on the Fierce DD Mask outside of boss rooms. Yeah. The thing is, the world gets a bit messed up if you're Fierce DD Link in places where you're not meant to be.
Of course.
Like, don't go into the stock pot in. You actually get stuck because you're too big to leave. and of course, you can't take the mask off.
Too big to leave. How the fuck does that Goron get in the afternoon? I still really enjoyed Majora's Mask 3D. Don't get me wrong, because it still looks great and it still sounds really good.
I just really appreciate the traditional save system. No quick save nonsense and free save files.
Yeah, I think I actually liked. I know Gavin might hate me for this, but I didn't use the Sheikah Stone. But I did like the fact that if you talk to the other bombers, they'll actually sort of give you a hint about some goings on in the world, and then it'll get noted down in your notebook, and you'll be able to be like, okay, I'll go check that out. And I didn't have to really look too many things up because of that, and I like that because I feel like the original Majora's Mask, like I said before, is like quite a bit of a guide game.
No, I don't mind that change. I mean, how else are you going to fill in the revamped Bomber's Notebook? Like, it makes sense. Plus, it's not straight up telling you what to do. It's just telling you, hinting you at what you want to go to.
The Sheikah Stone is in the game, though. Don't make
it
it
is
in the game.
It's inside the clock tower where the happiness salesman is.
And I guess moving on to Twilight Princess HD, unless you guys want to talk about Majora's Mask 3D, Espyo and Tom.
Nope.
Because you haven't played Espyo, have you?
No, not at all.
No. What do you think about the changes, Tom?
Yeah, it's a mixed bag, really. I enjoyed playing it again, but there's a lot that lets it down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of what you think, then?
Yeah.
What was you going to say?
There's like actually used the new 3DS.
Oh yeah,
the nub.
Used the nub. Yeah, it was actually one of the first games to do that. Yeah, you could control the camera with it. But guess what? It's the nub on a new 3DS.
The nub!
It doesn't feel good.
I hate the nub!
I actually don't like the nub, yes.
Fucking look, I love that name, the nub.
It's actually officially called the C-Stick.
Yeah, I heard that, yeah. I think that's how, because everyone thought, oh yeah, we can use the C-Stick for Smash. But no, it's just a little nub.
Yeah. Boo, I say.
So I didn't actually play Twilight Princess HD. I skipped on this one. I'm guessing, was Gavin the only one who played it? Did any of you guys play it?
Play it, yeah.
Did you play it, Tom?
Come on, guys. You saw me buy it at game.
Did we?
Yeah.
Did we?
It was like
I can't remember.
It was like 2017.
Oh, it was a few. I've slept since then.
Oh, God. Okay, well, Twilight Princess HD. Compared to Wind Waker HD, this one was a bit of a letdown because it didn't make enough changes, I felt. It was, yeah, it looks nicer. Like, it's not as murky and brown. Like, it's been brightened up a bit, which is nice, but the changes it did make, I think, were too few.
Yeah, I think, like, in terms of models, you can still tell it's quite an old game.
Yeah, gigantic foreheads abound.
Yeah, and things like some of the models just sort, because there isn't that standard definition blur to sort of hide the polygonal look of the game.
Yeah.
Like Wolf Link, especially, you look at him and you're like, oh,
yeah,
oh, you've not aged well.
What is neat though is that the HD remaster was actually done by a Western studio called Tantalus. Like, it wasn't done by Grezzo or anyone based in Japan. This was actually done by a Western developer.
That's cool.
Yeah. Of course, whenever I think of Tantalus, I only think of that stupid Dawn of the Dragon game on DS that I hate so much. Anyway, what did Twilight Princess HD do? Well, it added a new collectible called Stamps.
Was that for Miiverse?
Yeah, a lot of them are found in grottos all around the place.
Mm.
And there's like 50 of them. And there was one stamp for each letter of the Hylian alphabet. There's also like some various characters for the game, and that was about it. Like, by the time I played Twilight Princess HD, Miiverse was like 1 or 2 months away from closing down. So
oh, that's a shame.
It was just like, oh, another thing to collect for 100% completion.
Yeah.
There was also the Cave of Shadows, which was yet another enemy gauntlet, but this one was locked behind the Wolf Link amiibo.
I hated stuff like that.
Yeah. It's not that worth it because when you complete the Cave of Shadows, you just get the Colossal Wallet, which is 9,999 rupees. But by that point,
oh no, is he gone?
No, that was Espyo.
Okay, that's fine. I'm sure I'll come back. Carry on, Gavin.
Yeah, no, that was the only reward for that. Once again, the wallets were actually made bigger. Like your starting wallet is now 500 rupees. Why did they put down 50 on the document? What the hell's wrong with me? So the first wallet went from 300 to 500. The first upgrade went from 600 to 1,000. The third upgrade went from 1,000 to 2,000. Espyo, what happened?
Yeah, Discord did the thing.
Oh, okay. We thought it was Craig, the recording bot.
Yeah, so I was
Has he done it again?
I try not to panic.
You didn't miss much, but
yeah.
Okay, so remember the Tears of Light they had to collect in the Twilight Realms? Well,
that was the main complaint about Twilight Princess, right? That and the MIDI soundtrack.
Yeah, that's my biggest biggest disappointment with Twilight Princess HD. Why didn't they remaster the soundtrack? We could have actually got Lord of the Rings, but no.
I would sure eat your heart out.
Like the soundtrack's just exactly the same.
Yeah.
So disappointed, but anyway, the Tears of Light were reduced. Before it was 16, now it's 12, which doesn't really mean much because they're still quite spread out. They're still pretty much on a linear path. So what does that change exactly? I don't know. Now, by default, Twilight Princess HD is based on the GameCube version, so it's not flipped, so Link's left-handed. But you have hero mode in this game, which actually flips the world, so it's more like the Wii version. So both bases are actually covered, which I thought was a neat.
That's cool. Yeah, that's cool.
So yeah, other than that, yeah, it's Twilight Princess again with just a few additions. But would I say it's straight up better than the original version? If you care about the HD over
standard,
yeah. If you care about the HD makeover, then yeah, by all means do it. But you're best sticking with the GameCube version, I'd say.
Yeah,
or even the Wii version.
I think this came out in a time when they were just trying to keep the Wii U afloat. So I don't. But whereas when Wind Waker HD came out, that felt like they genuinely wanted to do it. Whereas Twilight Princess HD, I mean, like Gavin said, like it's the definitive version if you care about how the game looks, but it didn't really add enough to sort of warrant making it, I guess.
Yeah, it's a little less bleak looking.
Yeah.
Because everyone complained it looked too brown, but then again, it was a game from the 2000s. Brown was real, remember?
The brown was real.
Yeah.
So last off, Link's Awakening for the Switch, the most recent title.
Yeah, this is interesting, this one.
Yeah, it is, and it was developed by Grezzo, so they must have got Grezzo back to do this one.
Like, this isn't just a remake of the game; it's straight up a full-on revamp of the entire game because you're going from a Game Boy game to a full HD 3D game on the Switch. You're going from sprites to full polygons. Like it almost feels like a completely different game. And yeah,
I think in terms of how it looks and feels, I think it does feel like a different game.
But once again, the art style was divisive. Oh jeez, are we never going to get out of this phase? I mean, I can kind of understand why, because characters have like a very super deformed, chibi look to them. Like this version of Link, people like to call him Toy Link.
I've heard that.
I do think the main reason people complain about the art style is because the opening and the ending are fully animated.
Oh my god, and they're gorgeous.
Yeah, and then the game suddenly changes to this chibi style, and it might put off a few people.
Yeah,
but at the same time, I don't mind because it's not like changing the Game Boy style. It's
keeping it.
Yeah, it's keeping it. Yeah,
it's keeping it in a way. Yeah, definitely. It's like almost like you said, Gavin, before. It's just revamping it.
Yeah.
For a modern look, and I like that. Like you can't do it one for one, but they've sort of it's almost like they took the Link Between Worlds look and redone it to fit the way Link's Awakening should look in HD.
Yeah, and one of the biggest improvements in this game, where now you got more buttons to work with.
That's the biggest thing that made me like this game more.
The sword, the shield, the power bracelet, and the Pegasus boots are all now their own dedicated button. You don't have to equip them and unequip them repeatedly.
Well, the power bracelet is just built in now, isn't it? Once you get it, like you can just lift up rocks.
Wow, this looks really heavy.
Yeah, I fucking hated that shit.
Link checked the chest. They actually changed that in the remake. That line.
They did?
I think it now says Link check the dresser.
Oh, right, okay.
Which means no more innuendo.
I will say that Link's Awakening for the Switch, at least, it didn't really change how I felt about the original. Like, I did enjoy it more, don't get me wrong, but I think I need to replay it, because at the time I was playing it, I was also playing, like, 2 other games, and, like, Link's Awakening took a bit of a backseat. So I was playing it to just sort of get it done and over with, not to really, like, enjoy it. But I enjoyed what I played of it, don't get me wrong. I think they... for one, they charged a ridiculous amount of money for it. I thought it was ridiculous.
It's not worth full price. I mean...
No. And even with the additions they made to add like more heart pieces and seashells to find, I think that's padding. I don't think that's legitimate substance to add to the game.
Yeah, it really should have been sold at a discount, but hey, still better than Mario 3D All-Stars, am I right?
Yeah.
But yeah,
the soundtrack was great.
Yeah, the soundtrack's a lot better. Like, some of the songs in the original were very dull and repetitive, especially the song for the 4th dungeon, because that was just like a 10-second loop, but now they actually added layer to it.
The face shrine is one of the best pieces of music in the series, I think.
I love what they did for the face shrine music in the remake.
Yeah, I'm definitely putting that in the video for this.
It is such an emotional track.
Yeah.
Like, it makes a lot of sense considering that's where the big plot twist comes in.
Well, that's something I got to really appreciate more this time around, because in the first game, I didn't really get far enough to sort of see that coming. I knew it happened, but like obviously it's different when you play the game and feel it. And yeah, just seeing that evolve, and like that's one thing I'll give credit to Link's Awakening. I think I said it for the original game as well, but the world just feels so different and mysterious and rich, and I love that.
Yeah.
And melancholy in a way. It feels like you shouldn't be doing what you're doing, but it needs to be done.
Yeah, it needs to be done because, well, it's not real.
Yeah.
Now there was a mini game called the Trendy Game. It's where you won the Yoshi doll. It saw a massive revamp in the remake. It's now a mini game you want to play multiple times if you want to 100% the game, because there's more to win. Because before, you just go in there for the Yoshi doll, and then you never have to go back in again. But now there's a lot more. Like there's like pieces of heart. There's actually figurines of all the Mario characters that you can.
That's cool.
You can win, and you just.
I hated how many times the stuff fell out of my fucking claw though. Like the dedicated physics was cool, but oh my god, like it was like a real game. Like, you know, a real one you find at the casino or the amusements or what have you.
Yeah.
And then you pick it up and you're like. Is the machine got enough money? Is it going to let me actually have the toy? No, it's dropped it again. For fuck's sake!
Yeah,
but it was funny. I enjoyed it.
There was also the camera shop was taken out, even though they kept the extra dungeon from the DX version. But now we have Down Pace Hut where you can make your own dungeon. But don't get excited.
Amiibo.
Don't get excited because you can only. Like choose from preset layouts. Like you can only use actual dungeon rooms from the game itself. You can't make your own dungeon rooms. You just have to place them together. It's like a jigsaw puzzle of sorts.
Tom alluded to it. The main problem with it was the fact that you couldn't share levels online. You had to put them into an amiibo and then share them that way.
Yeah, there was an amiibo released of Toy Link, a Toy Link amiibo, you could say.
Yeah.
You could also scan it into the game itself, so you could like have a Dark Link as a fight in your dungeon, I believe. But again, the whole thing was underwhelming, and there are stuff to get from it, but it's not worth it because it's just rupees again.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't mind a more revamped Zelda maker in the future because, you know, the potential is there, but it wasn't realized with this game.
I think Zelda's a game that's quite complex to have a maker for, but they could do it where you just make a dungeon, like in this game.
Yeah.
But obviously flesh it out a bit more.
They probably have to, like, make it strictly top-down.
Yeah, top-down, definitely.
Which, you know, I wouldn't mind that, just as long as it's not as limited as it was in Link's Awakening on the Switch.
One thing I was happy for the fact this game existed at all, because I was convinced after A Link Between Worlds that top-down Zelda was probably going to be dead. But then they brought out this game, and I was like, if they made kind of like how 2D Metroid is, like if they made a brand new 2D Zelda game like this, I'll be perfectly fine with it as long as they don't charge an extortionate price. But yeah, I'd love to top-down Zelda, so I'm glad this came out to sort of make me believe that they're still thinking about it.
Yeah, thinking about remaking games.
Yeah. I
Which
guess.
is why it would be very nice to see the Oracle games remade in this style.
Oh, I'd love that. I
Yeah.
hope they do that. I hope they do it kind of like how Pokemon Mystery Dungeons did Rescue Team DX. I'd love for them to have both games in one package.
Yeah, I think that will be what they do, because could you imagine paying 50 quid for both games separately?
Yeah, that'd be ridiculous. Yeah. Did you have any comments on Link's Awakening, Tom? By the way, before we close out.
Well, what you said really, not worth the price tag, but it's a brilliant upgrade, and it was a lot of fun, and it sounds and looks amazing.
Yeah, nice one. So yeah, I think we've covered all the games there. I mean, well, yeah, pretty much, yeah, all the important ones anyway.
We were thinking about talking about the spin-offs, but we didn't want to be here for ages.
Yeah, we've already. This is already probably gonna be around like over 3 hours long, I imagine. So, but I've had a really fun time.
4.
Yeah,
4 hours,
maybe.
So
enjoy editing this.
Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry, future me.
It'll be worth it. Don't worry.
I guess before we go, we'll probably just like each of us say like, I guess what Zelda means to us really. Did you want to? I guess I'll start off, but they're just some of my favorite games of all time. They're some of the most reliable games that I can. Like, even if before I've played them, I'll know that I'll most likely like it. I love the worlds. I love the characters. I love that the music in Zelda games is amazing. It's just, yeah, it's one of the all-time greats, and I'm really glad that I managed to find it. So even if it was through Phantom Hourglass. Did you want to go next, Tom?
Yeah, was something I've grown up playing. I falling in love with the art style and the stories it tells. And not just the games, but like merchandise that comes with it. So like Hyrule Historia and all them books.
Yeah, the theories.
I never got that book.
I think the world is just amazing, to be honest. Yeah.
Good stuff. Let's go with you, Espyo. What does Zelda mean to you, mate?
Ooh. To me, it's a sort of franchise I'm not really crazy over. I don't know all the details. There are parts of it that I understand are a bit more casual and not like they don't focus so much on the story. It's sort of just whatever, the hero saves the princess. It's a franchise that has its small flaws, but that in general is just relies so heavily on having good value that in and of itself cannot be understated. Like a lot of franchises that are good because every individual entry just has good stuff. That's not quite the case with Zelda. With Zelda, it really is just the entire package is just a good thing.
Yeah,
and it's a bit like comfort, you know. Zelda feels like home. It doesn't necessarily feel like love. It feels like home. That's what it is for me.
I get that completely. Like when I played Majora's Mask 3D again, I was like, "This is so comfortable."
Yeah, it's just you just play and you're just yeah.
Yeah,
that's literally the only word you can say. Just yeah.
What about you, Gavin?
Well, sorry, Pokemon, but I found somebody else in recent times. Anyway, yeah, the thing I love most about Zelda is just exploring the world and finding new locations, finding new items, getting stronger along the way, and actually feeling like your actions meaning something by the end.
I think that's the biggest thing, isn't it? Just the way it handles progression is genius.
Yeah. It's just something I never get tired of, really. Like, I can see why Zelda has been such a big inspiration to video game developers, both in the mainstream industry and in indie developers. Like, just look at games like Okami, and you can just see the Zelda influence all over that, and it just shows. It just shows how much this series means to a lot of people.
There's definitely a reason why it's Nintendo's number 2, possibly number 1 in a few years' time, if they keep up this string of good games.
Yeah, like, I have high hopes for the series. I mean, even though it's stumbled in some places here and there, I still think highly of the series every time. Like, I don't think it's regressing like other series are like Pokemon. I think it can only go up, basically.
Yeah. I will say I was kind of worried about Zelda before Breath of the Wild, because I didn't really know, because Skyward Sword still uses kind of the same structure as Ocarina of Time did. Like, you collect these 3 things, and then you go to this place, and then the story progresses, and then you collect more things, that kind of thing. Whereas Breath of the Wild completely shattered it, and just, I think they brought so much more young blood into the development of Breath of the Wild, and I'm excited for where it's going to go next. So thanks for listening, guys. I don't know when we'll be doing the next one, whatever we've got planned. I guess we'll have to look for it. But if you're still here after listening to us, natter on, that's the one. Natter on for like 4 hours. Cheers. So we'll see you next time. Just say bye, guys, quick.
Yeah, we're sorry.
Thanks, everyone.
Goodbye.